You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids. Welcome to Season 3 and episode number 101. If you're a Depeche Mode fan, that means something to you, of the Daily Beaver here on the Crier Media Network. Today, recording day is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. And maybe today will be the first tennis. I've been trying to get the first tennis of the year in since Friday and cannot find partners. But I have a match scheduled today, so hopefully it goes all the way through. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me, as always, is my dear friend, Mr. Grizzly. And as Kit Linda M says, Mr. Grizzly looks like he's dressed to go into space. Of course, a big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a Tuesday morning, I would assume, nibble for you, but who knows? But first, we must say hello to our dear friend, Mr. Grizzly, and ask him, how's your mental health doing today, sir?
Good morning, Mr. Beaver. We're not going to talk about my mental health today.
Oh, okay.
Not good.
Okay.
Not good. So we'll just gloss right over that and try and get this show done.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm sending you big hugs then, my friend.
Thanks.
Big hugs. All right. In the headlines, we will be finding out around 9 p.m. tonight whether or not our public servants are going to be going on strike. That's the deadline they have given. If there is no agreement reached by 9 tonight, starting at 12:01, we basically have a general strike going on. I think that's what Chris Elwood, I believe, was I can't remember if he's they call him the president, but he's the head of the union, the Public Service Alliance of Canada. It seems that the Treasury Board has made it. Well, it seems that the two main issues, one is money, because sometimes, there's a strike like when we have teachers and they're worried about quality of the classroom and it's not so much about money, but this time it is about money, because inflation, cost of living has been going up, and some of the people that have been getting the smallest wage increases over the past while have been the public servants. In fact, I think they keep on saying that wages have been up 4% or close to 5% in the last year, but the Treasury Board is only offering 3% per year for 3 years.
Yeah, that's well
We,
below the cost of living.
yeah, well below the cost of living. It still means people are falling behind. Um, So that they weren't impressed with that. They have been relatively reasonable, I would say, because all they've been asking for is 13.5. So they haven't even been asking for, or maybe exactly, what the average wage increase is or something. But it's
Yeah,
not
they're
like
just
they've been.
looking to catch up to
Yeah,
inflation, basically,
yeah,
right?
it's not like they came in asking for 21, 22, or 32 or something. It's 13.5. So it seems that it might be a slight lowball offer from the government anyway, I look at that and I look at that as not that far apart, at least on money, and that the government may be coming in with a low enough offer to give themselves a little wiggle room to go up and still not break the bank, but look like they've given something as a PR move. But there's also the issue of very much work at home, which seems to be a big issue, and because none of that is written in the contracts, and they would like the stipulations written in the contract. So I'm not sure what would be the smarter move negotiation wise, if to get the work at home provisions first and then go for salary, or to get as much salary as you can first and then see if the government would try to sweeten the pot with work at home provisions. So I'm not sure which one's the more important at this time, because they're both pretty important, because the world has
Mhm.
changed with the way we work at home, and people just don't want to go back. People just don't want
And
to go back.
it's
And like you were saying in the last episode, the workers are now starting to have some power.
yeah, they are starting to have some power, and it's understandable why people don't want to go back. It's not just for those who are possibly immunocompromised or just maybe, and it's been exacerbated by the pandemic and the isolation that many of us, millions of us, have faced. Is that social anxiety has crept in and reared its ugly head, so that people who are not good in crowds, who I wouldn't say are introverted per se, but just get nervous in larger crowds of people,
Mm,
have that's been amplified quite a bit. And let's look at the fact that especially in the city of Ottawa here, where we have 125,000 federal public servants, most of which who have to commute. There are a lot who live in the downtown core, like myself, but most of the people that live in Centertown, Ottawa, which is the core of Canada's capital, are working class and poor. Most middle class tend to live in the suburbs, and the commute to get here. Well, our public transit system it
mm,
works when it feels like it.
yeah, it's a little temperamental.
We bought a train system that doesn't work in ice or snow in
Apparently,
Canada.
Quebec City is looking at buying the same one.
Oh,
They have
don't.
worse winters. I was just they.
I know.
There was no snow on the ground here when I went to see Depeche Mode, and there was still snow up to my waist in certain
Yeah.
spots in Quebec City.
Quebec City gets a lot of snow, and you got to remember Le Massif is so close, which is the resort in Eastern Canada where if you want to ski, you can go right now, and the conditions are amazing because there's still tons of snow.
Mm,
So yeah, the commute, and then you add into the commute costs to people that they've not had in the last 3 years. So all of a sudden, they've gone
right.
from saving thousands of dollars,
Oh, yeah.
let alone on clothes, laundry, the running around, the stress of getting back and forth to work, the time lost in the commute, which takes away from your quality of life. And a lot of employers are really trying to stress quality of life is important, work life balance is important. Well, then why are you taking away from me? Why are you trying to diminish my quality of life and my work life balance? Right now, I log on at 8 a.m., I log off at 4:30 p.m. My free time is my free time. The old adage of 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure, 8 hours of sleep, 24
Yep.
hour cycle. But the 8 hours of work is usually around 10 to 12 when you factor in commute times and travel
Yep.
times and la 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 la. So that
And often
diminishes
unpaid
your leisure.
overtime.
Pardon?
And often unpaid overtime.
Often unpaid overtime, yes. And
And
productivity from work from home has been proven to be exponentially better because
yeah,
the distractions aren't there. You have something in front of you, you can work on it, and they go, yeah, but they might take a nap. Well, okay,
so
did they get their work done? Yeah. Then what? Who cares?
exactly. I was always there's certain jobs like that, right? I mean, if you're in some place where you have to put this nut in this bolt, like this, you have to literally be there.
Fine.
If you're a surgeon, you have to be there. There's certain things you have to be there. But I mean, anything that where you don't have to be there, because if you have a deadline, whether you do the work between 9 and 5 regular, or whether you do the work between midnight and 6, so long as the work gets done on time, on deadline, and it's quality,
That's all that matters.
treat people
That's
like
all that
adults.
matters.
Treat people like adults. That was the one thing I didn't like when I was in the public service. You had a dentist appointment, you had to like tell your boss you're not going to be there. Of course, you need to tell people you're not going to be there, but
Of
then you had to
course.
fill out a form and all that for 2 hours that you didn't work, and then you had to. And so, like, why would I fill out a form and have 2 hours docked off my pay, rather than saying, you know what, I'm a grown up. I took 2 hours to go to the dentist this day. Yes, I cleared with the boss to make sure I wasn't needed at that particular time or whatnot, and I recuperate my 2 hours at some point during the week
Yes. I
without
skip
filling all
lunch
this paperwork,
every
all
day.
these forms. Like I'm a grown up, right?
Well,
And I think people have liked that. Like you were saying, it costs money to work, right? Getting to and from work, your bus
well,
pass, your walking shoes if you walk to work, your car parking costs money. Lunches if you're brown bagging it. If you're not brown bagging it, if you stop at the
it's
food
even
court to
more.
pick something up, you probably stop at the food court and you pick up a coffee. Your clothes, dry cleaning if you need that at some point. If you're buying suits, if you're all that type of stuff, and you don't have an expense account for that because you haven't reached a high enough level, well, they'll pay you. Pay
Well,
for your
and
suits.
here's a comment from Linda M that I'm going to put on the screen
Yep.
because
Good. I'm glad you did that.
something that needs to be taken into context. You know,
Yep.
you might be able to get your work done, but not every. I'm very, very, very lucky that I do not work in a toxic environment. And as a matter of fact, the office that I work in, the Crown Corp that I'm contracted to, because I'm not an employee, part of their vetting process in the hiring is weeding out toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
Like they spend more time trying to establish what the individual's EQ and EQ is, less so than their IQ, because
Mm-hmm.
their mentality is you might not be the best at this particular skill set, but we can train you to be better,
Yeah.
and you
You
can
could learn
learn to be
that.
better. You can learn to be better. But if you might be the greatest in the world at this particular skill set, but if you are well, let's be polite and say a negative Nelly, you're not going to work here. You're not going to fit in. You are going to be detrimental to, well, every other employee. What was it that the
Yeah.
U.S. Navy used to say? A single drop of oil in the water supply can poison the water supply for the entire ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. It's the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a negative, toxic individual in the workplace makes it rough for everybody. And I'm sure every single one of us watching and listening to this podcast has had a work environment where they dreaded going into work because they knew where they were going to see a specific individual that day that was and you were anxious about it, right? I've been there. I know you've been there.
Hands
I don't
up.
know of anybody.
Two.
I don't know
Hands
of
up.
anybody who can't say that. Where it's like, oh, I got to work with this person today. Oh God, oh God.
My sweetie's going through that too.
Yeah, and it's just
Like
it's no way to
everybody,
live.
there's always one at
There's
the
always one.
office.
See, I'm lucky. The current situation I'm in, I don't have that. We have mature adults, and again, part of the vetting process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to fit in with this team to work here, and what you have to have is a positive work attitude. We
Mm-hmm.
all have terrible things going on in our lives. Compartmentalize it and leave it at home.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
we will talk about our lives, but we only tend to talk about the pleasant and good things in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at work with my coworkers, I don't talk
Yep.
about negative stuff.
Right.
Although I will go to my boss if I'm having a particularly bad mental health day and say, yeah, I'm not doing great right now. So I'm just going to go tuck myself away in this area of the building and work on my stuff. And they're like, no problem. No problem. We
Yep.
understand.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Um,
again, I'm very lucky. Not most people, I'd say the vast majority of people that live and work in this country do not have what I have. So I don't take it for granted. I'm
mhm.
grateful for it every single day I go to work. Every day.
Yep. Yep. Well, it's like I keep on saying, right? You're spending at least a third of your life there, and you're spending time away from your family and friends and doing other things that you love. So you better appreciate the people you're working with and for,
Yep.
because or else
Damn straight.
work gets very long, very
Yeah.
long.
An 8-hour day feels like a 16-hour day, and nobody wants
Exactly.
that.
Right. And like I'm seeing the comments from the kits here in the chat, and it's I mean, work at home in the contract would set a good precedent for private sector workers to go after what they want to. That's what Linda Am says, and that's what the president of the union says too. Right. When the government doesn't pay its employees well, doesn't give good benefits, that affects the overall work pool, because there's always this tendency to want to drag down, right? When we hear the public servants in the private sector, the private, they always turn around and says, oh, why don't we pay people, like in the private sector? Why don't we pay people like in the public sector? But whenever they say why don't we pay people like we do, they always pick the lower option
Of
and want to
course.
bring the private
Yeah.
either down to the public, or the public down to the private in certain. So, for example, if you're not getting lots of good benefits in the private sector, but getting good benefits on the public sector, then they try to cut the benefits in the public sector to match the private sector.
Mm.
But if the salaries are higher in the private sector than in the public sector,
They're not going to
then the reverse applies, right? So yeah, it really does matter, and that's one of the reasons why, for example, for which the federal government did do the mandatory 10-day sick leave in federally regulated industries, so as to create a pressure point of demand. Well, if you don't want to give me this, then I'll go work for the public sector.
Well,
And it's, oh, okay, well, we'll give it to you. So that's how they try to influence that. So you're right, Kit Lindam, that's true. And then Kit Jim goes, how much money would we save if we didn't have to pay for all the buildings downtown to house people connecting remotely to computers in another building? I absolutely agree. Now, on the other hand, of course, with more people working at home, there is an economic impact, because all the businesses that are in the areas of where all these office towers are. So when you go out to do a little errand during the day, because it's close to downtown, you say you go pick up, a loaf of bread and a couple of cans of things that you needed during your lunch break, or a tube of Crazy Lou because you broke your cup. All those little things that you go out and buy. Well, that isn't there anymore, and that affects businesses there.
it's
So I mean,
it's
there is an
it's
impact, and the
diminished.
government does have to
It's
balance that.
diminished, but you do need to understand too that there are over 120,000 people that live in a 1.5 kilometer radius of Parliament Hill. Number one, and number two, all of the major hotels are in this area. So
Mm,
you have residents and tourism in this part of town. Yes, uh, the foot traffic on a daily basis has diminished, and restaurants and coffee shops have a lot of them have closed.
yes,
There's no denying that. There's no denying that. Starbucks has
I think
closed a
like
number of its stores in the downtown core.
yeah,
A number. I think there's
a
only
number of them.
3 in the core right now. There used to be
Yeah,
like 10.
right.
There was one directly across the street from the building I work in, closed. It's gone.
Yeah,
You know the
in
one that
Montreal.
was in the Lord Elgin Hotel?
Yeah,
That's closed.
in the train station in Montreal when I was coming back from Quebec City, I thought, oh, I want a hot chocolate. So I'll go to the Starbucks. It's just outside in the back and in the corner. It wasn't there
Closed.
anymore. Okay,
Yeah,
then I'll go to the Tim Hortons. That's always no. The Tim Hortons was closed. There was only a second cup in the actual.
that's it.
That was the only, and the
And a McDonald's.
McDonald's
Isn't there McDonald's? Yeah, McDonald's.
and the McDonald's, but the coffee store chains. That was
Yeah.
it. There was
You gotta
nothing.
admit
I
too,
finally
the
found
the
one in a
McDonald's on the
Starbucks.
train station is nice too. At
Yeah,
Gare
yeah,
Centrale, the McDonald's, it's a nice
it's a
McDonald's.
nice McDonald's. Yeah, yeah, definitely not like the one on Radio Street.
No.
No, but the even I had to go into the National Bank building down in the basement somewhere, and all it was this little like Starbucks stand, right? Not even
Mm.
not even like an out like the stout like in the middle of the floor space. Like, oh boy, things must be things must have shifted big time on that. Um, so the reason why the public servants, and this is federal, right? So this will be 155,000 public servants estimated across the country that could be on the picket lines tomorrow morning, is because, well, they've been at the bargaining table for 2 full years and haven't been able to get to a deal. So after about 18 months in January, they took a strike vote and it passed, and the strike had to be called within 60 days. So we're getting there. So they still tried to, they called the strike vote and they didn't go for it right away. And they tried to negotiate and nothing came of it. So now it looks like they're going to do it. And the members gave the union an overwhelming strike mandate. So it looks like they're pretty determined. So yeah. I see this comment from Tim McCaffrey about the buses in Ottawa. The 118 never let me down. 118 is a good line, Tim. I've been on it. It's a good line.
So I've got to relay something to you. I read a comment last night from David Moscrop had a tweet, our friend David, about why are you punching down on public sector workers earning $40,000 a year? And one woman responded with, well, my son and his girlfriend and her friend both earn $70,000 a year. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting statement, but you do understand that the middle income or middle class cutoff in downtown Ottawa for a single person, the income needs to be $87,000. So they're $17,000 shy of middle class, which makes them working class. Try again. $70,000 sounds like a lot of money, right? Mm-hmm. It might be a lot of money if you live in a small town where your cost of living is diminished by your rent costs, your rental cost and your travel costs because you're able to walk everywhere. But if you live in the downtown core of a capital city like Ottawa, a 2-bedroom right now averages around $2,400 a month. Now, if you're only earning $70,000 a year, and I say only, again, that's $17,000 below middle class. So factor in $2,400 a month. Let's say you have a 2-bedroom and you have a 2-bedroom because you need to have an office workspace in the home. I have an office workspace in the home in my studio here, but this is literally an extension of my living space. Mm-hmm. It's not a separate room because I'm in a 1-bedroom because I couldn't afford a 2-bedroom when I rented here 12 years ago. My rent is very affordable by today's standards. It was affordable by the standards at the time, but I can't afford a 2-bedroom. And I would love to have a bedroom that I could turn into a full-fledged studio. I can't afford it. I am not a middle income earner. I am below that number by a few $1,000s. And I barely make ends meet. Now, I have a vehicle, which I needed for my job.
Yes.
I also used to have a car allowance. Yeah. But when the company was purchased, they folded that up. So I'm now less money in my pocket per month. So look, trying to get by as a single person living in the downtown core of Ottawa, Canada, which is not the most expensive city in the country. It's not. It's not easy. $87,000 is the middle class income cutoff for a single person. 87,000. I remember when that was considered a lot of money. It's not that long ago, but today, barely middle class. Mm-hmm, so it's, when they're not asking for an arm and a leg, they're just asking for a wage increase that gets them to, a livable income.
Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about here is often referred to as the single person tax. One of the two main criticisms I've had of all governments over the past 25 years is, one, there appears to be absolutely no concerted strategy for rural Canada. None whatsoever. Doesn't matter what level of the government. The Conservatives seem to do better in rural Canada, but there's no strategy whatsoever. There doesn't seem to be. The first party that comes up with a coherent strategy to do something for rural Canada wins. Number one. Mm-hmm. And there's never anything for single people. When's the last time you heard of a government saying, hey, we've got a tax cut for single people? We have something for seniors. We have something for children. We have something with families with children. But there's never, ever, ever anything specifically for single people. You're alone. You're paying all the rent alone on one salary, all the food alone on one salary, all the increase in hydro bills alone on one salary, and your salary has not gone up. You don't get to split it with two incomes, your
That's right.
household. Single people have been having it really tough for a long time, decades. And
Very long
nobody
time.
seems to pay any attention to them whatsoever.
No,
I just
because
don't get it. I just
we're
don't
not
get it.
we're not the family unit. So
Well, it plays well, right? When you say, well, we're doing it for families with kids. Yeah, but if you
Yeah.
always do everything for families with kids and never do anything for families that don't have kids, or people, you got to balance it out every now and then.
Well, this is the thing. It's like I've been taking it on the chin my whole life. Now, let's
Similar.
hold that for a second, though.
Yeah,
Let's hold that for a
but
second.
tax-wise, it's true.
It's tax-wise, it's very true. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm stating a fact. And I do need everybody to understand that I still understand I want everybody to know that I understand my place of privilege in this world. That goes without saying. Single, het, cis,
Yep.
white, male, 6 foot tall, physically fit, mid-50s. I am the demographic that everybody wants to advertise to. I know they keep saying, let's go after the youth dollar. The youth don't have any money. I don't either, but I am the demographic that has money, right? The youth don't have any money because wages have been stagnant for the last 40 years. Productivity has increased exponentially. Wages have remained flat. So going after the youth market is sure, they spend their disposable income. But if you are a youth who is just getting out of university and getting started, you have no money and massive debt. And you don't own anything. You have a document that sits on your wall, which is lovely. And I encourage post-secondary education. I also encourage that we should fully fund post-secondary education.
Yes, we should. It's an investment in the nation. There's no reason for which you would not. There's no reason. There's no solid reason to not.
Just to let you know, I don't have a furnace because I'm in an apartment building, and they turn the heat off at usually by April 1st. They kept it running this year, but because it's been so warm out, there's no heat right now. So it's a little chilly in my apartment this morning. That's why I'm dressed like this.
So, kids, should there be a strike, we have a guest lined up for tomorrow who has let us know that they have been cleared and they can come and speak to us about what is going on.
Okay,
So
cool.
we will have it's amazing how we've been very fortunate, because we got Keith Bogue. We scheduled it in advance, and it just happened to be the day after Trump got arraigned. And this time we have somebody that could be here on the very morning that the strike starts. So we are we're very fortunate and we're very blessed. So let's put it that way. Now, before we go on, because I forgot to do that yesterday when we did the show, and I am so sorry, but I do not want to forget to do it today. I want to say good morning to the kits. So, good morning, Kit Ellen, Kit Jim, Kit Jillian. Lovely to see you. Kit Saucy Sea Witch, Kit Ellen. Hello, dear. So nice to see you. Mohan, lovely. How are you today? Hope you're enjoying your morning coffee. Kit Jen, Kit Elaine, Kit Linda M. Wow. Sadeka. How are you? Lovely to see you. Oh, everybody's here. Kit Savage Wiener as well. It's like the whole family's here. Kit Tim. And if I missed you, well, I'm very, very, very sorry. But thank you so much, everyone. Oh, and James is with us. Mr. Grizzly. Yeah.
Yes.
What's up, my friend? Lovely to see you.
Well, James just sent me a message here, and my phone is not. I can't seem to respond to messages, so I'll respond quickly with saying, "Yeah." He wants to test out his equipment because he's got his new microphone, new camera, and new internet connection. So he was like, "If you want a guest at the end of your show, I need to test my equipment anyway." I'm like, "Yeah, we'll bring you in."
Okay, sure, absolutely, yeah, yeah. Come on in at the end of the show, no problem. We'd like that very much. Oh, we have a new one. I see a Kit Christian L. This looks new to me. Maybe you've been here before, but if you're new here, welcome. Lovely to see you. It's a wow. South Stands TFC. It's been a while since we've seen you too. Hello. Good morning, Kit Mel. How are you? Kit Mel goes, who could that be? I wonder, Mel. I wonder who that could be. Who could that guest be for tomorrow? I have no idea whatsoever.
Can you guess if it's
Wink.
Mel?
Hey, not too hasty. Don't jump to conclusions. It's Mel.
Cool. Well, you know, I think that's awesome.
Interesting. Well, there's a new well, it seems that everybody wants to be the mayor of Toronto. There
I
are
saw
no
somebody yesterday
fewer.
wax poetically about how great of a job Chris Sky would do, and I'm like, if you believe that, can I sell you some oceanfront property in northern Saskatchewan? Because the dude is a conspiracy theorist with a coke-addled brain who has lost his grip on reality. If you believe anything this man says and you vote for him, you get what you pay for, and you are paying for a real, real terrible human being.
Yep, indeed. There are no fewer than 48 candidates. Okay, this is a
You get a
number.
mayor, and you get a mayor, and you get a mayor, and you get a mayor.
This is a number so big, okay, that if this was on like Sesame Street and you had the count,
Yes.
like he would tap out at some point. I love to count, but this is a little much, huh?
48 mayor candidates. That is too many.
48? Really? So, yeah, and well, I'm not sure if it's the biggest name of all the 48, but Olivia Chow has decided to throw her hat in the ring again. Now, Olivia Chow, as many would know, has run for the mayor of Toronto before and lost to John Tory. And there's a lot of people that are critical of this decision. Now, I have a lot of respect for Ms. Chow in the sense that when she decided to run for mayor of Toronto the first time, she left her job as an MP and then
Yes,
ran.
she did things correctly. Yeah.
In a world where Patrick Brown had not left while he was running and Jason Kenney had not left while he was running, and then we saw Peeair run for leader for how long without doing a single second of work in the House of Commons
Now
for
he's
his seat.
running for prime minister, which is not a thing.
Yeah. So, Olivia Chow's there, and she says, quoted as saying, "What makes me stand out in this crowded field is that I have the experience. I have strength. I know how to bring people together. I know how to get results, and that is what I will do." Now, of course, she's a former Toronto City Councillor. I'm not sure in 2023 that I have the experience sells as it used to.
Sadly, it does not. Sadly, it does not. It should.
It should, particularly given the series of shit shows we've seen.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe there's a reason we don't always go for the total outsider. There might be a reason.
Like in a reality show star president.
Yeah, and then I mean, there's always been interesting characters, but Rob Ford, and then I'm just thinking like, and I know it's not just Canada, like Canada and the U.S. and it's mostly U.S., but it's like just Rob Ford, Rob Blagojevich, all those Republicans that keep on screaming about pedophilia, who keep on getting caught harassing underage interns, and being anti-trans and anti-gay, and then we find out that they've commented on like dating apps that are on Instagrams. Oh, I like your style. You look so handsome. Or it's like, or
I was just trying to encourage a young man better his life, and I appreciate the fact that he's putting efforts into his art. Come on, man.
I have a bad back, and I needed someone to help carry my bags.
Yeah.
That was one. That was one in the States. A man needed help having someone carrying his bag.
Yeah.
Okay. We see you. You know we see you, right? Like, you think we don't see you, but you know we see you, right?
No, they don't, because they're so blinded by their own ego that they believe they can say and do whatever they want and get away with it. And they do get away with it for a long time until the day of reckoning comes. And when that day of reckoning comes, boys and girls, let me tell you something. The Schadenfreude is, well, the sweetest nectar you will ever taste, because I sit there with a bag of popcorn and a beverage and watch and enjoy. And I know that makes me a terrible person for enjoying someone else's misery, but someone who has been heaping metric fuck tons of misery upon humanity for decades, finally getting their comeuppance, well, that's when we rub our hands together and say, you know what? Sometimes the world works out the way it's supposed to. The universe does mysterious things. Have you never heard that before? We use that in construction all the time.
So you have CHs and FTs in construction, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How much? MFT. How much? Give me an MFT of that. And move it to CH while you're at it.
Yeah, Kit Linda, I'm going.
So many
I'm
more.
terrible right there with you, Grizzly, Mr. Grizzly. Yeah. Me too. It's like,
I know it's wrong to take joy in someone else's misery, but this is misery that they have brought upon themselves.
After causing so much to others, delighting in causing them to others.
They're reaping what they sowed. That's what happens.
Gleefully causing misery to others.
Oh yeah.
And it's just,
I don't know if you caught Jake's show last night. I don't know if you had to catch it. What you can do, our buddy, your old pal Jake.
Yeah.
Oh, if you get a chance, check it out. It's good. He had a couple of clips. He was about to end the show and he's like, encore. Okay. And he brings it back and he brought in this clip about this guy who works for Midas Touch. And I think his name is called Texas Paul. And he looks like a big old redneck Southern boy wearing a big old white cowboy hat. And he is left-wing Democrat, as you can imagine. And he's a good old redneck country boy with one of them thick Texas drawls. And he would sit at the table and enjoy our company immensely. I like this guy. And Jake's show last night was great. So Jake, if you're watching this morning, thanks, brother. Appreciate that effort you put in last night. Really do. I really do.
I am a big fan of liberal rednecks.
Oh yeah.
Or progressive.
Oh yeah,
rednecks,
because they fly in the face, right? They're progressive.
Wonderful. It's just wonderful. Like, I love Trey Crowder, the comedian.
Oh yeah.
So you hear that voice.
Oh, what?
You hear that voice, but you hear them like say our words, but in that voice is music to my ears.
It really is
music to my ears.
It really is. Well, it's because you can tell these
joy.
People who are dialed in, switched on, connected to the zeitgeist. They understand how the world really is, and they refuse to have the wool of ignorance pulled over their faces. They won't allow it. They're like, no, I am woke, and I'm proud to be woke.
Yeah,
because I pay attention to what's going on around me.
But it works on the other level too, because they sound like that.
Yes.
And look like that. It plays on the stereotype. It's like, I know you expect a guy who sounds like this to not be saying something like this, but I tell you, baby. It's just like, I love it. I just love it because it's like, I know it's stereotype, but that sort of like plain talk. Delivered with that sort of like,
I can do
I'm
that.
just being sincere.
I'll tell you what, that there Trudeau feller, I'll tell you what, that son of a bitch, he's a good son of a bitch.
It's like you pulled the hoodie down, and it's like you went from spaceship to Breaking Bad in 1.4 seconds.
No shit. Right? I'll put it
Oh,
back up
man.
once I get chilly.
All
But
right.
yeah, I can
Now
walk
you were
amongst
talking about
them, especially with the beard, the bald head, and if I put on a
yep.
bit of a, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, these guys dared up there in Ottawa, those sons of bitches. I'll tell you what, I can walk amongst them, and I
Now,
like
Mr.
to.
Grizzly,
It's like yeah, there's not enough. I don't own enough soap to get that filth off me.
now, Mr. Grizzly, if you'd put the visual up, it's the tweet from David Mosscrop that you were talking about. So,
Oh, you have it. Yes.
would you read it, sir?
If you're beating up on government workers who make $40,000 a year and facing massive inflation and just want enough money to get through the day, you're a piece of shit. My position on this is people should be able to feed and house themselves, and asking to not take a pay cut while doing the work to keep the state we all rely on up and running is actually good. And if you're on here or in the newspapers or radio or TV bashing these folks, then you're not just wrong, but you're being absolutely shitty too. Get your life right. And if you're pissed that the public servants are standing up for themselves while others aren't getting the same deal, then your beef is with the unions and employers of those other goddamn workers now, isn't it?
Boom.
Truth bomb.
Boom.
That's a truth bomb.
Don't be mad at the workers for getting themselves a better deal.
I remember years ago there was a paramedic in the city who was getting paid. I think I'll say at the time it was $15 an hour, when the average minimum wage in the United States of America, in particular the state of New York City, was 7.25. And in McDonald's, employees wanted to unionize, and they had the 15 or fight. So they wanted $15 an hour. And people would go, why can a burger flipper get the same as this fella over here who's a paramedic saving lives? And the fella who was a paramedic saving lives said, why would I be mad at somebody who's improving their lot? And I cheer them on. I want them to get paid a living wage. I'm not against that. You know who's against that? Wealthy people who don't want to pay them. And then they pit us against each other. No, I
And
support.
here's an example. Can you identify a federal employee who makes $40,000 per year that is not a contracted out job to somebody probably struggling to feed for their family? This is the problem with you people. You actually don't recognize your own hypocrisy when it's slapping you in the face. For your information, $40,000 a year equals $3,333 per month. My wife and I don't even earn $3,000 combined a month, with 2 children receiving Canada Child Tax benefit on the 20th and Quebec Family Allowance on the 1st. Eliminate classes, eliminate the wealth class, give an equal amount of fucks.
Mm-hmm. Well, scroll down.
I don't make $40,000, so nobody else should. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you identify somebody who makes 40,000? They all make so much more.
Scroll down a bit. You see that comment from Jane Arthy?
Oh, okay. Sure. Absolutely. Let's go there. Whoops. Of course. Right. Of course. And yep, it's lost. Because Twitter doesn't work the way it should, right? Because you press back, and of course it won't go back. It goes somewhere else.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the comment that I replied to, and I never saw any statement from her after that. I think she
screw you,
shut it
Lonnie.
Down. Yeah,
making a service that doesn't work. Anyway, so yeah. Now, probably some of these are real people. I would assume most of them aren't, given Skippy's bot game. But there you go. Somebody asks for a little more, and it's like, how dare you? There was another comment. Yeah, but if you pay people more, like, how much is it going to cost more to the economy, and it's going to make everything less affordable for us. Okay, so if you don't pay the people that keep the lights on what they're worth, nobody ever does the counterfactual.
well, and you do realize that they go, how much is it going to cost for a hamburger? Well, in Denmark, the average minimum wage is $26 an hour. I believe it's $26 an hour. It might be a little more, a little less, but it's in that neighborhood, where the average McDonald's hamburger costs exactly 23 cents more than it does in the United States of America. Throw your argument out the window. It's greed. It's corporate greed. Case in point, Galen Weston crying about we don't make enough money. He's a billionaire. And then getting a 55% wage increase for a billionaire who is now opening, 38 new stores and renovating 300 or 600. I forget what the actual number was, but crying about, oh, we don't make enough money. You're a billionaire. Shut your pie hole. And what seasoning should we use for the rich when we decide we're going to eat them?
Something bitter.
I do believe the day of reckoning is coming, and I mean that sincerely. Now, is it going to be an uprising with pitchforks and torches? No, it won't be that. But the day of reckoning is coming. How it's going to appear in the 21st century in 2023 or 2024, I don't know. But the day of reckoning is coming because they've been literally pissing on us for so long, and we've had it. And you know who's gonna do it?
Who?
It won't be Generation X, which is what I am, and it won't be the millennials. It's going to be Gen Z because they've been pissed on since birth. Not to mention the fact that their whole lives have been one constant struggle between one tragedy to the next. And that leads me to this little clip this little thing I'm gonna put on the screen here in just a second. And this is a paragraph written by a young girl in high school in the United States of America. And I apologize, I clipped the image and I forgot to pull up the name of the author. So this is unfortunately going to be uncredited in this sense. But this is what this young woman wrote. She's a young girl in high school. And I'm going to put this on the screen and I'll read it to you now. And it's about Shirley Jackson. A dystopian society is shown in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. I'm going to pause on that for a second. You remember the short story, The Lottery? Many of us read it in school. I'll tell you about it after I read this. This is a society where people go into town to be stoned to death, providing they are chosen in the lottery. It isn't fair, it isn't right, Mrs. Hutchinson screamed, and then they were upon her. The lottery, the people justify this by saying it's tradition, but they never think of what they are truly doing. It is only when they or their family member is chosen that they see how unfair it truly is. This reflects on our society. Everyday students walk into school, sit in their classes, talk to their friends, but in the backs of all of our minds, we never feel truly safe. Since the first grade, the class of 2023 has seen an act of gun violence in schools every year. Yet, we still come to school every day and pretend not to be afraid. We pretend that we don't get scared when someone pops a chip bag in the lunchroom. We pretend not to notice Officer South scanning large crowds of people. We pretend that we're always at ease, but with the constant reminders that we see on the news, we never truly feel safe. It almost feels like the people in power don't want to protect children. They claim to be pro-life, but once that child is in school, they don't care if someone turns a place of learning into a shooting range. We have been raised knowing AR-15s are more important than the next generation of Americans because of a sentence written by men almost 300 years ago. It's tradition, quotation. This is an injustice to the people and the future of America. Now, that young lady could have a very bright future. I say could because the school year's not over yet. And there's been how many shootings thus far? More than there are days in this year.
Way more.
So, she could have a bright future if she lives long enough to have one. And somebody might go, Paul, you're being ridiculous. No, I'm not. This is how the children of the United States of America feel today because of gun violence. So marinate on that for a little bit, please.
Yeah.
I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the words that young woman, that young lady, that young girl. She's like 15 or 16. She's still a young girl. Not underage. She's a girl. That's another thing that troubles me. People say, oh, he was having sex with underage women. No, he was having sex with a girl. He was a rapist. He's a pedophile. That's the other thing. The term pedophile refers to somebody who is still considered a child. A teenager is a child. You're not an adult legally until you're 18. You're not a fully functioning adult till at least 25 because your frontal lobes are still growing. You don't have the ability to reason properly until after the age of 25, and then experience teaches you more. So we have a lot of problems in society today, more than I can even tackle in a lifetime. I could sit here for the rest of my life talking about it and not solve a damn thing. I can suggest things we can do. I can tell you how I think collectively we can make the world a better place, and I really do believe that we can. I know you're wired for optimism, and I do appreciate that because that helps me on dark days like today. Days when getting out of bed is a struggle, when sitting here speaking into a microphone is all that's keeping me from curled up in a ball in the fetal position weeping in bed, because that's where my headspace is right now. That's where my mental health is. So when I read things like this from a young girl, it breaks my heart. And we need to make the change. But guess what? If her generation lives long enough, and I say lives long enough because of what she just wrote, they're going to make the change because they're pissed off, they're fed up, and they will not put up with the status quo any longer. So guess what? Right-wing Republican evangelicals who think you can rule the roost, your day is coming. Your day is coming, and oh boy, you are going to pay the piper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get another cup of tea. I'll be right back.
All right. Whew. Okay, kids. Yeah, he's right. He's right. I got nothing to add. I got nothing to add. I do have it because I keep on saying that this is about competing rights. And I just don't know when it comes to gun violence, when it is that people are going to realize you're choosing between, I mean, they have it right up in the Declaration of Independence, I believe, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And right now, 2A is getting right in the way of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At some point, they're going to have to decide which one matters more. And I don't understand why nobody's framing it that way yet. Because that's essentially what it is. Of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or the right to bear arms, which is the one that matters most to you, because you're going to have to pick one down the road. And nobody wants to seem to just have that very frank conversation. Just getting back to a second to what we were saying about David Mosscrop.
Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. This was my response.
Okay. David knows what time it is. What's rule number 1 of life, kids and cubs, all together now? Don't be a douche.
Be a douche. Yeah.
You can take a douche. That's shower.
Yes.
En français.
Yes. I'm going to jump in la douche. But yeah, it's like there is no reason to be beating up on anybody that makes 40,000. It's like, and yes, there are plenty of public servants that make more than 40,000, which was the same thing when we were talking about the educational support workers. There are plenty of them that make more than 22 or 26. That's not the point. The point is not for them who make plenty more. It's for the ones that don't.
It's the old thing, the old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. So let's lift the boats. Not rocket surgery.
Really? Tell me about it. Now, we're with the CBC. Something very interesting happened yesterday. You know, when we were talking about government funded or privately funded, and we were talking about some of the graphs, Mr. Grizzly. If this was in one of the graphs I was showing yesterday, I don't believe I showed it on this show, but I did show it on Dean's show when I was on it yesterday. This is 2018, 2019. It's the CBC's books. And here is their advertising revenue, which then becomes this block, to which they add their subscriber fees and their financing and other income, which becomes this block, to which they add the financing. So
from the federal government.
yes. So it is at the moment, the CBC, when you do that math, is about 69% publicly financed. Well, it turns out that this is what PeePee and Sarah Fisher and Elon decided to do. Why is everything screwing up on me today? Holy crap.
I don't know.
All right. Well, again, I just it's frustrating.
We'll get over it.
Okay, there we go. Let's try this
Got
one.
it?
I'm going to have to make it smaller because this time. So right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they change it maybe later to 69% government funded or something.
Oh, yeah. And Peeair had a thing about that. He says, see, everybody's happy now. Like,
yeah. Okay. Now, Dean goes, Elon messing around with CBC's government funded tag is actually kind of funny. No. And then, of course, a lot of people go, no. But here it is, the thing that I find really interesting. Because I keep on saying, right, he's very clever, but he's not very smart. Well, it certainly now establishes that there is a direct line of communication between them two and a pattern of perhaps even collusive behavior, gives longer legs to the story, makes the monetary value of the in-kind donation skyrocket. He's narrowcasting. He just can't help himself.
Mm-hmm.
He can't. He's narrowcasting. Seriously, think about it. What type of person who may have that? Let's assume there are some people out there that are actually, well, okay, well, it is true. I don't see what anybody is getting upset about. And then they see the second part, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they see him saying the second part with, oh, well, yeah, everybody's happy. What kind of look is that? What kind of look is that?
Are we going to cite him for foreign interference in electioneering?
No. Let's come back. What kind of look is that?
Childish.
When you're like, okay, so it's not 100%. Right? And here's the thing, right? The everybody happy, right? There was the 70, but then.
It's less than 70.
Yeah, well, no, go ahead. Put this up. The concern has been, so here, right? They do all this, right? Canadian Broadcasting, they put the annual report, 70% of its funding. The CBC argues that it funds the other 30%, so it should not have the label. Okay, just trying to be accurate. This is lining here. Would they be okay if we said 70%? 70. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Good point. Generosity is always the right move. 69% it is. So then they switched it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got some people Elon's playing chess. No, he's not playing chess. He's just being a dick. And then of course Peeair. There.
Yeah, there.
Now everyone is happy.
What a smug little prick.
Exactly. That's the look. Who's gonna like that look other than people who already donate to PeePee? The first one is bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
Big sugar daddy Elon, could you please give me a leg up by changing this thing and drawing attention to this? I would really appreciate it. And then Elon does it. There's a bad look right off the bat. And then you come back. You got what you want. You got what you wanted. And then you do this with it. It's not. He cannot pivot. Pardon?
Goodbye CBC. The whole Twitter hashtag last night, goodbye CBC, had me in stitches. The amount of people that seemed to suddenly think the CBC was going to disappear because they decided they're not going to use their Twitter account any longer.
Like NPR did. Like NPR did on the 12th when Twitter did the exact same thing to them.
I scrolled through it last night and I was laughing uncontrollably. I'm like, wow, the level of ignorance in this world, the absolute braggadocio approach to showing the world how stupid and ignorant they are. Way to go, we did it. CBC's going to disappear. What? No, they're just not going to use Twitter anymore. Which, see, here's the beauty of it. New York Times said they're out. That. NPR is leaving. CBC is leaving. All media, with the exception of the extreme right-wing evangelical Christo-fascist media owned by Chatham Asset Management, amongst others, and Sinclair Broadcasting in the United States, they'll stick around. But all legacy media, they'll slowly go away, move to another platform, continue to expand their existing digital platforms along with their print.
And their audiences will follow them.
That's right.
And then Twitter will become Truth Social 2.0, where it won't be fun for the people who are there just to bash people because there'll be nobody there but themselves to bash.
Well, and I opened a Mastodon account and I have a Discord account, but oh my God, they're so twisted and convoluted and not user friendly. They're such a royal pain in the ass. The only reason I'm still on Twitter is because we have an audience there.
Yeah,
and if we can trying to get as I don't know if you saw the interview on Did Will with Brittlestar. Well, he said we used to be on this platform. We tried to bring everybody over to this new platform. People just don't move.
People don't move.
So I got to stick with Twitter for the time being. If there was an alternative platform where we could get everybody to migrate to, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But there's nothing.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because if we say like we're leaving Twitter, everybody come and join us on Instagram, or everybody just join us on the blog that we already have on Facebook. For those who don't already have a Facebook account and those who have lots of connections in their network on Twitter, I was like, yeah, it's not going to be until enough of their network leaves Twitter that they too will leave Twitter. Right? If there's still a reason to be there, you can put on the blinders and ignore the other stuff and say, I'm just going to be here for my friends. There's a lot of people that use social media that way. So, but yeah, I mean, we had that. We had a discussion group. I remember now, this is old school, back at Yahoo group list. At one point, Facebook came along and said, well, yeah, let's just establish this thing on Facebook. And we asked everybody to migrate. About 10% of the people migrate, and nobody else used it. People stopped using the group list, and the whole group just fell apart. It was an active discussion group with about 300 people. We were all sharing ideas and tips and stuff, and it just went because nobody wanted to migrate. It happens.
And that's the issue, right?
Yep. Now, if you have this one up here, Mr. Grizzly, this is a good tweet. This is the one that sort of captures how I feel about it. Tim Abre, I don't know who he is, but there's no bottom with Peeair there's no bottom with Pierre Poilievre. This is wildly irresponsible, to put it mildly. He recklessly hacks away at the foundations of democracy. He is so craven that he doesn't care what's left of the institutions. He'll be happy as the king of a smoking pile of rubble. Pretty much it. Pretty much it. Burn it all down and I'll be king of whatever's left. And that's good enough for me. And that's good enough for the people I say I want to lead. It's not good. Not good at all. And, well, remember when I said yesterday that journalists were probably going to be getting together because PeePee gave him all the motivation at this moment? Well, Mr. Grizzly, if you would. Dean posted, just spoke to a journalist friend. Journalists are going to dig into PeePee's entire life after he, 1, mocked their colleagues, and 2, spent 2 years calling them all corrupt gatekeepers. Direct quote, I think Peeair knows what he did.
Not what he did.
Oh.
Peeair knows not what he did.
Not what he did. Ooh, yes. Did I call it?
Oh, yeah.
Cool if they said it with a British accent. It's the thing that people have to understand. Journalists are a very, very interesting breed of people. Actual journalists. They take great pride in their work because the only thing you have is your reputation. When you're a journalist, It's your byline. It's your name under the headline. That matters. And if you put out crap, then that gets associated with your name. Right? Journalists care about the integrity of their work.
Yes, they do. It's their work. It's like, it's not rocket science.
So if somebody
Most
comes in,
people who do a job, even if it's a crappy job, still care about doing a job. I mean, it's just everybody takes a certain amount of pride in what they do. Everybody,
Exactly.
whether you're flipping burgers, saving lives, speaking into a microphone like we do, everybody takes a certain amount of pride in that they want to do a good job no matter what they're doing. So if he thinks he can slag off journalists nonstop and get away with it, oh boy. Not only does he have journalists coming for him, but now he's got anonymous that are ready to gun him down. So I'm here for it, man.
Here we go.
I'm here for his come-ups.
Yep. Let's put this up. Keith Bogue, who was on the show. I was CBC's Ottawa bureau chief for several years during Liberal and Conservative governments. Only once did the government try to affect our political coverage. That was when CPC PM Harper's staff met with me and asked that a CBC reporter be reassigned. I said no. End of story. Christopher Waddell.
I like the comment.
Go read Mr. Christopher Waddell's, Mr. Grizzly.
I was CBC TV parliamentary bureau chief from late 1993 to mid-2001, including through the Quebec referendum, and at no point did anyone in the federal government try to affect our Ottawa coverage. They did go after Terry Molesky in Vancouver, though.
Ellie Alboim.
When the Mulroney government objected to our Meech Lake coverage and tried to have me removed, CBC management rebuffed the pressure. I continued in the job for another 3 years.
Journalists care about their work. Any journalist media outlet that would do that type of thing, as soon as the journalists got a whiff, the actual journalists would all leave and go somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
There are no stories. There have never been in my life stories of mass defections of journalists from CBC because of something editorial.
It's
not once in my life.
The only example I can think of, and it's not even editorial, the only example I can think of just happened, and not editorial, sexism in the workplace in Finland, at the state and BBC. And again, not editorial.
Not editorial.
It's a whole different kettle of fish there, and we're trying to dig into that one. So how you feeling?
Let's bring in James. Shall we?
I was hoping you would say that. Well, let's bring in our good buddy James. We've not seen in a bit. Good day, sir.
Buddy!
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound good.
How are you, my friend?
Camera looks good.
Looking good. Mike looks good. You look good. What's going on?
I was holding the microphone. Yesterday, I was trying to do a Blackballed audio recording. And the arm, I didn't know how to get the arm from stop springing up. So instead of calling someone who knows what they're doing, I just stuffed a butter knife in it so that it wouldn't spring upwards. So this whole thing could just go flying any second now because of the spring load.
So wait a minute, you got all this new stuff and you're still MacGyvering it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If I had some duct tape, I'd be in business, but I don't have any duct tape. How you doing?
Where's red green when you need them? Seriously.
Yeah, that's right. There's an anchor. The Middle East bureau chief for the CBC in like the 90s got in hot water because he was referring to Palestinian militants as militants instead of terrorists. I forget which bureau chief that was, but that was the only editorial thing that I could think of for the last 30 years. Just to make it boring.
Right? The CBC's boring.
No, I'm boring.
in that sense.
How you guys doing?
You don't want to be the story when you're a journalist or a media.
No. I used to think you wanted to be. That's why I did all these stupid stunts that made me the story, like when I voted 3 times and when I ran for mayor. God, that was fun. That was fun, though.
Are you going to run for mayor? I mean, they've got 48.
No.
It's 49. There's always room for one more.
No, I definitely am not going to run for mayor. But you know when Chris Guy's going to be debating, because you can see the plaque signal up in the sky. You know, it's like the bat signal, but for big dick.
The plaques. Plaque man. Oh, come on. Please. I mean, throw your name. I'd like to see you debate him.
I would love to, but
We'll bring cameras. We'll do it live.
I'm absolutely not qualified to be mayor. I learned that. I learned that when I ran the first time.
But you are qualified to debate Chris Guy.
I think
I'm
I am.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I tried to moderate a debate with him once. Do you remember? It didn't go over very well. I just walked away.
Yeah.
Literally just left. Yeah.
For good reason. For good reason. We haven't seen you in a while. You've been under the boat. Everything good?
I don't know how to answer that. I have been indisposed of. I've taken a mental health break.
Good.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I just got out of the hospital, and I got out yesterday, and it was a kind of a wake up call and everything, and I'll get into details on another show. I'm gonna figure out if I even want to go there. But yeah, I reached a point where I saw these familiar pieces of furniture, and I realized, oh, I'm back in rock bottom. I could still see my footprints from the last time I was there. So, turning a page now, hopefully for the better. And, I ate all the Adderall, guys. Okay. I ate all of it, like all of it, things kind of spiraled out of control for me, but now, it does something to you when you spend 5 days in a mental ward. A couple of things that people should know, though, because I don't want this to be turned into a dark episode, is that, the people that were there, people that were in my position, there was a nuclear physicist, there was a lawyer, there was a social worker, which is really interesting. We're all kind of dancing around the knife's edge sometimes, and I think that it's for some of us the bottom could fall out, and when that does, you got to try to find a toehold on the way down and climb back up. So this is me trying to climb back up, coming just in time too, because I have Noam Chomsky on Saturday. my first interview out of the gate. Okay, take the straitjacket off him. There's Noam Chomsky. There you go.
There's interesting motivation. It's
Yeah.
like, how did you get better? Well, I mean, Noam Chomsky was coming. I had to do something, right?
That's right. Well, he's 94, so I don't know. 94 years old, and the guy's still doing his
Holy
thing.
shit.
Eh? Like,
Amazing, eh?
Wow.
and he's
I am
still.
I'm so glad you chose you, my friend.
Pardon me.
I'm so glad you chose you.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I don't really. What does that mean?
You chose yourself.
You sought help when you needed it. That's choosing yourself first instead of taking the alternative.
Oh, I didn't. I went in the back of a police car. I did.
Oh.
I don't know if it chose me, and I
It
gladly
chose you.
accepted. Yeah, no. The details are
You got the help
ridiculous.
you needed.
Yeah, and by the way, there was no one else around me at the time. Like no one called the cops. I called the cops on me. So
Okay.
I
you
was
chose yourself.
in a crisis situation, and I chose to call and get some help. And I could have left 3 days earlier, but I took the doctor's advice and stayed, and I'm glad I did.
We're glad you did too.
Yeah.
Try to live an organic life from now on. Like organic meaning no pharmaceuticals. It's so funny. The one thing I will criticize our medical establishment for is that they have doctors that will sort of rotate. And I don't know if they talk to each other, if they look at the charts, because the one doctor, I was like, I don't think I want to take any more stimulants, like ever. So whatever this ADHD thing is, I'll try to deal with it through maybe, exercise and caffeine. But as far as, I got to plug in here in a second. As far as the other doctor goes, the other doctor comes in, he's like, so do you want Vyvanse? I'm like, I literally just told the other doctor I don't want any stimulants, but maybe Sure. Maybe this is a test. If it is, I don't want any stimulants, please. So, I think that's just, it's just that like self-medicating is a weird thing. Like you have things going on in your life and you want to deal with it the best you can. And sometimes you just, you know, choose the wrong, as Dean would say, you choose the rough handle instead of the smooth one.
Right.
And I just chose a bunch of rough handles for a few days. It's called I was put into because I did all the medication that I did. It's called I was in a state of psychosis, they call it.
Yep.
And so that's when you can't really tell what's real anymore. And so it's almost like your dream world invades your real world, and even looking back, I'm just like, I have a hard time believing what I believed at the time, but but that's over. And I'm just going to try to stay on the, I was thinking about this morning about how that whole knife's edge, I like to say that a lot. Oh, you're walking on the knife's edge. I think really what the stage that a lot of people find themselves in is that their right foot is walking on one tight wire and the left foot is walking on another one. And the right foot is walking on a tight wire of confidence, and the left foot is walking on a tight wire of humility. And to try to amalgamate those two together so that you have a wider space to walk on, I guess that's where I'm at.
That is deep. That is like, if you were listening to that, you should write that down. That is very, very, very well said.
Well,
it's true.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
I kind of got into it.
It is what it is.
I did an ASMR show last night, and I kind of got into where my headspace is right now. And I'm working on it, but it's one day at a time, and that's all you can do. One foot in front of the other, and keep moving forward. Right? You trying to maintain that balance of mental stability sometimes is very difficult, and when we need help. Thankfully, we are now, society has helped to try and destigmatize mental health issues. And as evidenced by what you said, nuclear physicist, a lawyer, a social worker, these are all professional, well-accomplished people who are struggling with the same thing that you and I struggle with. So it helps bring it into focus in the sense that no one is immune to this. This can happen to anyone at any time from any walk of life, no matter how much it looks like you've got your shit together. We're all on that knife's edge. Every one of us. Yeah.
And it's funny because we were the cool kids. we would go to the common area, all us professionals. I'm using that in quotes because I'm a fucking podcaster. But, we all kind of... and there were the caricatures there. There was a kid named Trevor who threw his underwear at the nurses literally every single morning. So there were people that sort of fit the stereotype. But, what was interesting that we were watching the news in the common room. It was the CBC news. And they were talking about mental health. And we're kind of sitting there looking at each other, kind of like, swimming in the irony of listening to them talk about mental health. And we kind of came to the conclusion that it's not that we don't talk about mental health anymore. We just talk about talking about mental health. There's not really much action, like the negative stigma doesn't go away when you talk about talking about it. There has to be that next step. We have to, I think, stop doing like that whole Bell, let's talk. How about Bell, let's fucking do
something,
stuff, let's do stuff.
Yeah. But really, if you can't, you got to help yourself. Like, I mean, I tumbled down the rabbit hole and now I'm going to climb back up, and I'm hoping that it'll go better than it did the last time. Like, but I've never experienced anything like this before. This was brand new for me. It was a rude awakening. For all intents and purposes, I should be dead. I ate something like 1,200 milligrams of Adderall each day for 3 days in a row, which is 65 times my dosage. So, or something like that. I'm not very good at math, but it's, I did enough to kill a horse, basically. And the doctor told me that, he's like, do you remember how you took it? I'm like, every once in a while, I would just take a handful. And he's like, well, you saved your life doing that, because if you took all that at once, you'd clearly be dead. So it's one of those situations where I got lucky,
Yeah. you got your second chance, man.
Yeah.
So let's
Well,
make the
for
most
me,
of
it's
it.
like my 18th chance.
Well,
You know.
so you're a double cat then.
Yeah, that's right.
You're two cats. You're two cats in a trench coat.
That's not my tail.
That's not. No, it's not tail.
Let
It's
go
not
of that.
No, really, we're
I
18.
did
We
give
want to
you-
come see this movie.
It's funny. But
See, we can still laugh, and I'm in a terrible state right now, and I can still laugh. Trying to explain that to people who don't get what mental health is, what depression is, what anxiety is. It's like trying to explain rocket science to a squirrel.
Yeah.
It really is. You got to try. I'm always trying to find a way to make it relatable to people so that they can, here's what I'm experiencing, here how I feel. And it's sometimes I struggle with having the words to define what I'm going through. Oftentimes I can find the words after I've gone through it and said, this is what I was feeling. This is how I was feeling. And people will look at me like, well, why don't you just be happy? I don't get that comment very often anymore. Almost never, actually. But I used to get that before. Or I'd get somebody who would be mad at me. But you have a good life. You should
I have
be
to
happy.
plug in. Excuse me
No
for
problem.
1 second.
No problem. And you're right. This is what Rianne is saying right here. Rianne and Saucy C, which gallows humor is essential to survival for the anxious and depressed.
Yep.
It's so true.
So true. So true.
And you're right. Here's a comment from Corinne on Twitch. It's a different language. You're right, Corinne. We struggle and try and find the words sometimes, and when your mind is spinning radically out of control, madly off in all directions, as the saying goes, trying to find the words to express to everybody around you what you're feeling and how you're feeling when you're in the middle of it is next to impossible. And oftentimes after I've come out the other side, I'm able to express what I went through and this is how I felt. And I can use the words like I did earlier. Like right now, I would rather be curled up in a ball in my bed, weeping uncontrollably. But what I'm doing right here at this moment is helping me. This is therapeutic to me because I'm talking about something other than what is occupying 95% of my brain space right now. And getting my head out of that space and being able to talk about anything other than that, even while I'm actually kind of talking about it right now, helps.
Yeah.
Because it helps to give me a clear head.
Mm-hmm.
Dwelling on it nonstop when you're alone at home like I am can be really detrimental, which is why I'm going to be reaching out to as many people as I can today to just talk about damn near anything else. And then you pile on all the other things that life has to hand out to you. Like today, I've taken a personal day, a personal/sick day. I get 3 of them a year, either personal or sick. To take your pick. And I've not used any of them since I've been employed by this company. And I've not, I get 3 weeks vacation a year. I only took 2 weeks last year. I've got a week that I'm trying to carry over, and they're like, you can't carry it over. And I'm like, but there's nobody to cover for me. So how do I take time off? Well, last week I could have technically taken off because my contract, which was renewed, but the paperwork hadn't gone through. So I don't have access to the building. I don't have access to my accounts. I can't do my job without having an escort. And even then I can only do 30% of my job. So I could have taken last week off had I known in advance. And a week off last week would have made a huge difference in my life because, as everybody knows, I'm working nonstop around the clock. And that can take its toll on you. So today is a personal day. I'm going to take care of little things and take care of me and drink some tea and reach out to a couple of different people here, there, and everywhere and just have a chat and catch up and get my mind off of what's occupying it 90% of the time right now. And that's where I'm sitting at the moment.
Maybe you should shave that beard too,
It's coming soon. But we want to do a charity event around it.
Do
stages.
So do stages. Like
exactly.
Yeah, like make sure you have a half beard at one point where you can go like this and then talk to yourself by going like that, and it's just clean on one side and shaved on the other. Like,
well,
that's
the
probably
idea
for a weekend.
Yeah, that would be a weekend thing. The idea is I want to do it over the course of 5 days, and what I want to do ideally is I'll put up this style A B C D E. Yeah, that's 5, right? pick a style per day.
Me brain.
Counting is not my.
You count real pretty one day.
1, 2, 3. And
1 plus 2
the idea is
fish.
to have exactly. There's the different style, and it's like, pick which style you want me to wear that day. I'll wear that for that day, and that will cost $100, and that money will go directly to Cornerstone Housing for Women. The idea is to raise. I'd like to say let's raise 1,000. I'll be happy if we raise 100, to be honest. But I'd also. I'll wear the gigantic twirled up mustache for 5 days straight.
The Salvador Dali?
For $500.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll do the Salvador Dali, and I can right now. It's like really long.
I'm going to tie you
for
to the
5
train
days.
tracks.
I'll do it for 5 days straight if we can raise $500 for Cornerstone Housing for Women. And now, and when we do fundraising, we do it differently than many other people will. We're not going to see a penny of it. The money's not going to ever enter our hands. We'll have you donate directly to the charity and then just send us a confirmation email from the charity that they send back. I've done this in the past, and I think it's the best way to do it because we don't want to have the money anywhere near us. If we can avoid that, we will. We'd like to have it just go directly to the charity.
Is that why?
I'm not saying I would, but temptation would certainly be there. The temptation's there.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I did the work. I should, $50 is, Look, I know what my temptations are. So let's do it this way. Give the money directly to the charity. I'll look like an idiot for a week wearing a Salvador Dali mustache to help others.
You already look like Methuselah, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. If you put on a good hat, you could be Karl Marx,
Ever since
If I put on sunglasses, I'll look like the average redneck idiot that sits in their truck going, that Justin Trudeau, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, my neighbors, every last one of them,
Every time I hear Methuselah, I can't help but think about that song, Chicago. Since the days of old Methuselah, they all love the old bamboozlum.
I don't even know that song, and it's funny. Is that a show tune or something? Is that from Chicago, the music?
From Chicago, yes. That's the only time I've ever heard the word Methuselah. It never comes up.
It was the saying when I was young. I think
Chicago,
my mom.
I was thinking the band.
My mom used to say.
The band Chicago is what I thought you meant.
My mom used to say something like, like something about like, oh, that's as old as Methuselah. I don't remember what the saying is, but she used to say that. Also, does it look like we are promoting the personification of a Douglas Connor light rye sandwich right now because of the complexion of and not only that, but we're the two ends of the bun.
Yes. Wonder bread, dark meat.
Yeah, that's right.
Throw some sauce on us, and you got a hot chicken with some peas on the side.
What I see on Bill Maher had these spoof ads the other night, and he was saying it was like new ads for like woke ads for companies, and it was like Wonder Bread. We apologize for our whiteness.
But we're so soft and squishy.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like,
do they have one for
Eager Beaver, the other brown meat?
mayonnaise?
No, I hate mayonnaise. Oh my God, the food. The food in the mental ward. Guys, if there's any inspiration that you need to not fall off the knife's edge into rock bottom, it is the fucking food. Jesus Christ.
Motivation to get better.
And you can't even order you can't order food. You can't order takeout unless you know someone that will drop it off. So obviously I'm in Pembroke. I don't know anyone there. And so I was kept on bribing the nurses. I'm like, I'll buy you dinner. I'll buy everyone dinner. I just need a pizza.
Just get me a pizza.
Just give me something. They're like, I'm sorry, James, for the last time. No. And so I called it. I'm like, well, the soggy meat company isn't doing it for us.
Just one slice of Hawaiian, please.
Yeah. No, I'm Italian. Hawaiian sacrilege.
No, you can see the poor guy going, I just need a pineapple.
I just want a Sicilian pizza. That's all I want.
Yeah.
If I cannot fold the slice, it's not pizza. Don't give me that pizza pie shit, that Chicago shit. I don't like that stuff.
The pizza we had at Neat Cafe was quite good. Quite tasty.
Yeah, it was. I barely remember
very
that.
good.
That seems like 5 months ago.
It does seem like a long time ago, and it's only like 3 weeks ago, I think. It was a good night. It was a good show. It was a good time.
Did we ever air anything?
No, I don't think so. I sent you the audio for the Jordan interview, and I sent you. I think I sent you a link to the video, but something happened. I don't know what happened to the video. We recorded that great interview with Classified. The video looks great. I can't find the audio. There's no audio. Like, I don't know what the hell happened because we clearly heard everything when we did it. And I was looking at the monitors. Yeah, okay, it's recording.
I think it's
gone.
Oh, so it doesn't exist anymore?
Oh no.
Well, I have the video, but I never had the audio.
Should
and
we dub it?
I think
That'd be
it was
hilarious. Should we dub it like they do with the old like martial arts films?
Hey, you over there, pick that up.
What did you say? I don't understand.
Daniel-san, want to fight?
Exactly.
Fight me. Sorry. Is that racist? I don't even know anymore.
No, I don't think that making fun of bad movie making.
You have to do it in an Anglo-Saxon. Daniel-san. It doesn't work though.
Yeah,
Hello.
exactly. Yeah.
Welcome to downtown Abbey.
You got to work on that a little bit. No, thanks guys for having me on. By the way, I was worried. I was worried about my. It turns out my sound was probably fine the whole time, but I couldn't see the levels when I'm in the green room. That green thing doesn't go, and I didn't realize that. So I'm sitting here rebooting 3 times, and I'm like, I'll just give it a go.
So you've got the new Rode X mic.
Correct.
That's a very good microphone, by the way. And do you have this? Because there is a specific set of software with that as well that you can adjust.
I have not even. I just plugged it in.
Okay, I'll find it. And I'll send you the link.
My gain
and it gives you a whole bunch of control over. No. It sounds good.
Okay.
I'll send you the software so that you can play with it a little bit and you can adjust it. And you can. There's tweaks and things you can do to make it sound more like you have a full hardware console.
Oh, okay.
It's software that will make it sound like you have an outboard console.
And I'm not used to seeing my face and head in like 4K or whatever this is. And I got to tell you, it's a little unsettling. I'm like, I could hide my blemishes before with pixels, right? Now I'm like, that's a little too clear for me. I'm going to start wearing like foundation so that no one sees the fucking ridiculous laugh lines and bags under my eyes.
Well, this software that I'm going to send you will give you the ability to see this console I have right here. It's called the Rodecaster Pro.
Okay.
And the software I will send you will be able to duplicate a lot of what this can do. Not 100%, but very, very close. So.
Okay. I don't know what that does, but I trust your judgment. Okay.
All right.
Anyway, all right.
Can I just say, Douglas just gave us a private chat that said, we're drifting way off topic, everybody. We need to get back to business. So, Douglas, take it away. You can kick me out anytime you want, guys. Honestly, I totally sandbagged your show here.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. This is not sandbag. This is, we just had a comment from a kid here. It was like, Miss Sadeka. I'm actually really humbled listening to you fellows share your vulnerabilities. I'm so glad we are in a time where men feel comfortable to talk about their feelings.
You think I feel comfortable?
Well, whether you're comfortable or not, you're doing it.
Yeah, I know I'm doing it. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't joke.
Do it anyway. Did you just shrink, Mr. Grizzly?
Yeah, he just went.
No, my camera decided it wanted to move.
Your seat didn't go down?
Okay, I was wondering if it was your seat.
The camera.
Now he looks like one of the dwarfs in Lord of the Rings. No, go back. That's funny.
Hold on.
Hey guys.
You go a little higher.
The Mines of Amoria.
Oompa loompa. I'll make myself really orange here.
There, now.
I'll play with
This
the
is weird because I'm 5'6". This is really weird.
How does it feel to be the tall kid in the class, James?
It's great. It feels like grade 7. The last time I was the tall kid in the class.
Grade 3 for me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Are you short too?
I'm 5'6" and a half.
Oh my God, we're like the same height exactly.
Yes.
Oh wow. I thought you were this grizzly bear. I thought you were 6'2", lumberjacky.
No, I'm a little otter. I'm fun sized.
Okay, good job.
Like an Oompa Loompa.
Oh my God.
You do look like Technicolor was just invented.
Oh, geez, that's horrible.
Yes, fun with cameras. Fun with cameras.
So you guys want to hear something funny?
Yes, please.
The first thing I did when I got out was I I went and bought an umbrella from the Pembroke Hospital gift shop, and then I walked 2 kilometers to the Pembroke Mall. I bought this camera. I bought these earbuds, which I hate because my ears are too small and they keep on popping out. And then I was like, oh, I need good food. So the good food was me going to the food court and buying like 2 containers full of Asian wok and A&W hamburgers because I was so tired of soggy meat food. And I'll be living off of it for the next, I don't know how many days. And you know what? It still looks good to me. It doesn't look like shit to me, even though it looks like shit to everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And
No,
it
heat that
feels
up.
like cuisine.
Good.
It feels like I should be saying tra la 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 when I eat it with my chopsticks because, as you can see, I haven't done my dishes since I've been away. So. Asian wok, everybody. I should be there. This should be my first sponsor. Oh my god.
Yes. What did I say? And so I went home, but first I walked to Asian Wok.
That's right. That's right. There's a bunch of, remember Yan Can Cook?
Walk with Yan.
Yes.
Yeah, Yan could cook. Yes.
with Yan.
No, it's the
I
coolest.
liked him.
His garlic
Stephen
game
Yan.
was second to none. He would just smash that garlic with the flat side of the knife and roll it out. Like just one move. And the whole thing would pop out and the skin would be gone. It was great.
Yeah.
Not like Pasquale, though. He's still my favorite.
Ah.
The opera singing Italian chef that
Yeah, I
literally had
remember that.
no regard for cleanliness.
Yep.
Just sticking his hands in pork and just going like this and chopping vegetables. So funny.
Because I'm reminding me of Julia Child. Look at that presentation. It's a sign that people's fingers have been all over your food.
She's right.
Now you watch the shows and they're like using like little tweezers and stuff
Yeah.
to like put the little things of microgreens on. It's like, we know you do it with your hands. We know.
Just go to Asian Wok, everybody.
The tweezers are just for TV. We know.
Asian Wok. The food looks like what it will eventually become. And a flush. But it's good. It's still yummy.
Oh yeah, Asian Wok. Oh, no, maybe not. We were gonna sign on, but not sure.
Oh,
Way to get and lose a sponsor in 45 seconds there.
so funny.
I'm just going to check the weather here for a second.
Oh,
quickly.
okay.
Just pull up
Is this
the
a weather
old-
break?
We have a weather cam, yes.
That's the weather cam. There's the weather cam.
Oh,
Yeah.
looks
Get
like
that.
my brain.
There's some weather. You see that flag flying right
What
there?
is
Oh
that?
yes.
What is that motorized vehicle that just went by on the right? It looked like an old. What was that? It looked like
I don't know.
Looked like a T. What's that called? The T car. The first
Model
Ford-
T?
Model T. On the playback,
You
you're
can
going to
see the
what I mean.
flag of the. That's the ambassador of the Ukraine. Ukrainian ambassador lives across the street from me.
Oh, wow.
Hey, since this is a bit of a political show, James, since we have you here, what do you think of a leader of an opposition that does not want to get a security clearance so that he can see national intelligence documentation?
I haven't followed the news in a week, but if what you're saying is that Peeair Poilievre does not want, as a sitting leader of the opposition, security
He
clearance,
really does not want.
has he stated why?
He says it's because
Yes,
it will
we
not
can.
allow him to comment on national security, which is a lie. He will not be able to comment on the intelligence he saw. But he was basically saying, without saying it, I just want to maintain my ability to say whatever about what the intelligence may be and have the fig leaf of deniability that I can't be sued for having lying because I've never seen it.
I think it's because he doesn't want to be seen agreeing with the government.
Mm.
You know, if Justin Trudeau makes a decision, a national security decision that he knows is correct, he doesn't want to be on national television or in the House saying, "I agree with Justin Trudeau." That's all it is. You know, because
And Jim,
apparently
can I
that's
address
more
your
important
comment?
than national unity.
Yeah.
He doesn't. It's funny how some people like leaders like him, Trump, to a certain extent, Doug Ford, although not as bad. But they seem to have this weird idea that it's more important to when you're in opposition to oppose 100% of the time, rather than prove to people that you're willing to agree with the government on items that you think are important enough to agree upon.
Mhm.
And I don't think they understand that there's nobody. I mean, is he worried about losing the ragtag wackos to Max Bernier? Or is he just not confident in his
Mhm.
ability to gain anybody from the middle? And he might have a point because it's hard to throw roses to both those demographics, right?
Yeah.
So he's chosen the ragtag wackos, and we'll see how well that plays out for him. I don't know. There's something to be said for. Remember when the pandemic first started? And he might have been disingenuous, but there was a few moments where Doug Ford not only deferred to the federal government, but said
Yeah.
that he agreed with Justin Trudeau.
Mhm.
And I remember those moments. And he might have been disingenuous, but you know what? Those moments are the moments that people remember.
Those are the moments that probably got him reelected.
Probably. Well, that in a 33% voter turnout, but
Well, yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was the right thing to do, though. It was the right thing to do,
Yeah.
right? Whereas Skippy said, well, we don't believe in those big government spending programs. We're conservatives.
Yeah. We don't believe in
If I can address one of the comments that Jim made in the chat here about him not having security clearance, he has security clearance in order to set foot in the building.
Yeah, there are levels.
He just doesn't have the required clearance he needs to look at specific documents, and that's the thing. A lot of people have gone, well, how come he doesn't have security clearance? No, he does. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the building. But you need a different level of clearance to look at specific documents and specific briefings.
And for
And he
those
doesn't have
documents, it's
that.
the highest, probably one of the highest levels.
It's cosmic. It's cosmic.
Is Trudeau allowed to
And which
make
is-
him? Is Trudeau allowed? I don't know what the answer is to this, but is he allowed to be like, okay, fine, then you don't get it, even if you change your mind? Is he allowed to do that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so because that's not actually up to the Prime Minister.
Yep.
That would be RCMP that would take care of that. So the Prime Minister has really no say in that.
Okay.
Security is a separate matter altogether.
Because it'd be funny,
and
it'd be
who
interesting
gets
if it was like, well, we find it very suspicious that he doesn't want security clearance, so now he's a security issue. You know,
That's what we've been saying.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah,
wondering because we've heard nobody else say it. That was the very, very first thing that popped to mind. So, what better way to signal
What's he
to the
hiding?
entire world that was looking to exert
Well,
influence
it's because
and
his
saying you don't want to get cleared?
yeah.
Well, one of the rumors is, and again, just a rumor, is that his wife's father, his father-in-law, sorry, was mobbed up in Venezuela and extorted a lot of money and left the country as well. Did you know that Peeair's residence that he tags as his primary residence is in his riding in Carleton Place, and his still to this day his residence is his mom's house. So maybe that's why he's so fixated on 35-year-olds living in their parents' basement. But who am I to say?
He also
He still lists his official residence as his parents' house.
he also was a
Yeah.
business.
Well, now he's at Stornoway.
He was business partners with one of the Plymouth Brethren members too. They owned the same real estate. I think they still do. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
got Plymouth Brethren ties as well, and I haven't
So
dug in that rabbit hole in a while, but I might start doing that again with David Wallace, and then seeing what's going on.
As far as it goes.
The other
yeah, go ahead.
well,
sorry.
the other speculation is that he doesn't want to undergo it because he already knows he can't pass it.
Can't pass what?
Well, it's
He wouldn't
possible.
pass it, the security clearance.
Oh, why not?
He would have enhanced for sure. I don't know if he has top secret. I don't know, but he would have enhanced at a minimum just to set foot in the building. But usually, enhanced clearance means you require an escort at all times. I have secret level 2 and they had set me up for top secret. As it turns out, I just found out I didn't get the top secret because they said, oh no, you're supposed to have an interview. And I go, well, they never called me. They go, yeah, because the project changed. So we weren't going to assign you to that project. So it was never a requirement. I don't have to.
Little known fact: Bill
Absolutely.
Clinton also required an escort at all times. Yeah. I'm back, baby.
Yes.
This thing on? This on?
I'm
One
so
joke,
stupid.
slayed. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, top secret is a long process to get the clearance. They go back to your childhood. Literally go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
So in the second grade, we heard you had a fight on the playground and said, I'm going to kill you, as a child, and I'm going to kill you for that because somebody won more marbles in the game or something. They literally go back that far.
Wow.
And for cosmic clearance, I think they have to pee in a bottle, bend over.
I will never get
And
a
they look at
security
close
clearance.
family members.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that's why I'm
They
wondering.
interview your. Yeah. Well, I had to fill out so many documents. It was ridiculous. I just didn't go through the final interview because the project changed and I wasn't attached to it. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Guys,
I hadn't thought of the angle of not agreeing with Justin on the national security thing. That's an
guys,
interesting
I'm going to
one.
split
He's pretty
now
enough for
because my kids are over at their mom's house and they're about to get on a bus in 13 minutes and I'm going to say good morning to them. So I'm just going to.
that. Absolutely.
Maybe I'll come back if you guys are still here. I don't know how long you guys are going for. I didn't realize you went this long. But I will. I will just sort of step into the green room, and if you guys are still there in like 10 minutes, you're there. Is that okay?
All right.
Cool.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Right. All right, kids. Different kind of show this morning. We didn't expect that we would be going there, but hey, we always start every show asking how Mr. Grizzly's mental health is. So we will always make time. We'll always make time for that, and we'll always make time for friends.
Well, and what is it's our mandate is politics and general culture. And I think mental health is part of the general culture because it affects everybody in culture.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? Everybody in the population is affected by it somehow or some way.
Yeah. Well,
everyone is affected by it.
Yeah. Well, that's the wonderful thing about this type of format too, right? It's like you just don't, something comes up, you know what? Let's go with it.
Yeah, we have no restrictions or restraints. The only restrictions or restraints we have is when we say, no, we're not talking about that and we can end the subject altogether.
Yeah.
We have the ability to control that.
Yeah.
But it was something that we talked about with our interview with Charles was the thing we love about this medium is how wide open it is. We can veer into any lane we wish, and we have instant interactivity with everybody viewing who wants to join the chat. Now, there are people who watch on Twitter who don't necessarily get the chat, so sometimes they don't quite understand what we're talking about. So I apologize to the folks who might be viewing on any one of the Twitter platforms. If you want, we have a YouTube channel, True North Beaver Media, and you can check us out on YouTube. And if you want, you can subscribe as well. See what I just did?
Yeah, very smooth. Very, very smooth.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, pointing it out is not smooth, but I could laugh at myself.
Very polite, elegant clapping.
Oh, thank you, Miss Sadiq.
Mr. Grizzly, it's interesting that when we were talking about Peeair in Venezuela, this one came up yesterday, which this part I don't really know much, and I saw that. Tell us about your wife and her parents' role in Venezuela, PeePee. Is that why you refused to undergo a security clearance? And then, of course, just singing, right? Somebody's about to find out that transparency is a two-way street. And, well, the kids say that they like it when I sing. Well, I was a little inspired.
Oh, you wrote a song, did you?
Yeah, just a couple, but so. Journalists and the CBC have had about enough of PeePee. Someone is about to find out that transparency is a two-way street.
That's we got to write a musical. We got to write a musical. Yeah, we'll write a musical, and what are we going to call it? PeePee and the Bean?
Don't PeePee on me.
Well, remember Freebie and the Bean? PeePee and the Bean? I don't know. And I've started calling him Peeair. 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 He really doesn't like that. He really doesn't like that. Yeah. He hates PP, but Peeair is a good one too, because you're actually saying his name. You're just saying it with a very English accent or anglicized accent. I should say. English accent would be Peeair. Peeair. Would you like to come to dinner this evening, Peeair? Peeair. 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 Get it trending, folks. Let's hashtag that.
Peeair, would you like to come to dinner? Ce soir.
Swear.
Okay, Mr. Beaver and Kitland M. Okay, Mr. Beaver and Randy Rainbow. I would die. I would die. I love me some Randy Rainbow.
Like, that's hilarious.
Oh my God. If he would, you know what? I always said that I know I would make it when I get cast in a video as like the video dancing person that just like stands there.
In a TikTok.
Do you remember the
Like
Wolfman
this bikini,
from
like that?
Hilarious House of Frankenstein?
Yes.
So, it's like that's when I know I'll have made it, when I get cast in a rap video as just like the background. Look at me dancing. That's my showbiz aspiration.
That's
or
how
to cast a movie, or to be
that's how
cast in a
J-Lo
horror
got
movie,
discovered.
come back with a sequel.
Yeah, J-Lo was a background dancer on In Living Color.
And she was a background dancer in an EPMD video.
Yeah,
Like
she was a
1988
fly
or
girl.
something.
Fly
Fly
girl
girl.
on In Living Color.
That's right. That's
I
right.
think she did pretty good with that, eh? You'll never
Yeah.
make a career out of dancing. Oops.
Oops.
Yeah.
Just ask Cheetah Rivera. Hey, come on, man. You don't know Cheetah Rivera?
I know
Okay.
who Cheetah Rivera is.
No, I don't.
heard that
Legendary. Legs for days. But she did A Kiss of the Spider Woman. I think she was well into her 60s or 70s, and I saw her at the National Honor Center, and she's dancing all over the place in these little things and high kicking and whatnot. Still in like late 60s or so. She was incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
Cut from the Tina Turner cloth.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
She's. I was like, how are you doing all of that? And it's not like she's sometimes you see dancers and they have like these big, thick, solid legs. So these like nice thin. It's like, how are these not snapping into what all you are doing, especially in the heels and all? Yeah. So yeah, dancers. Respect.
Yeah. This white guy
Everybody
knows
used to
how to
watch
hold
Star
up the
Wars.
wall. That's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
Nod
know
my
how to
head.
hold up a wall?
Hold up the wall. I was that guy. I was like in high school. This was me.
Wallflower. Yeah.
That was the extent of my dancing. I had friends that were threading the needle and doing the running man. I'm like, I'm not going to fucking try to do that shit.
You guys dance.
Cool.
I'll drop the beats.
That's right. That's right.
What was the old saying about Fred Astaire was the greatest dancer in the world? And they said, what about Ginger Rogers? She did all of it backwards and in heels.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
But he
But
got
Fred
all the
Astaire-
credit.
Fred Astaire was his knees, though. He had
Yeah.
the smoothest knees. It
Fosse.
was ridiculous.
Bob Fosse, yeah.
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 The Michael Jackson inspiration. He got all his moves from Fosse.
Yeah.
Moonwalk,
Oh,
everything. It's fucking. And it's
Fosse's
amazing
why I fell in
watching.
love with dance.
Really?
Oh yeah, all those sharp little movements and the little bit of the sexuality in it without being
Yeah.
vulgar.
I hear Billie Jean
Definitely
every
overt.
time I think of Fosse. Really?
Really?
Because that song, like Michael Jackson's moves in that video is like a Fosse routine from front to back. Like it's bookended. The whole thing is Fosse.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
They had
And I
that
didn't
thing
even
that
know
was
he existed until I was like 30.
yeah. They had that meme that was going around for a while there. That I think it was from the movie Sweet Charity when Shirley MacLaine like comes in, she sits at the table and she goes, "There's so many people. I'm the least famous person here," or something like that. And they got that where they're doing that weird
Yeah.
like, and everybody was trying to recreate it
Yeah.
like this. That's like, well, that was the whole thing, right? That was the whole Fosse thing, right? Those like
Yeah.
little movements and it's just
Breakdancing
love it, love
probably
it.
stemmed from Fosse too. Really?
Oh,
Like
probably
a lot
has
of
a lot of elements. All the popping and locking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Did
say
you
so,
guys
yeah.
always go for this long in the morning? I didn't realize
No, we
that.
don't actually.
Oh.
He's Mondays and Fridays. We usually get to go a little longer, about like an hour and a half or so. But the other days we normally get only about 45 minutes. But he's taking a personal day and working from home, so we have more time. So we decided to use it.
Nice.
Yeah. So you got anything? You got Noam Chomsky coming up. You got any other people lined up on your show?
Oh, I'm going to do Casual Friday this Friday. Yeah, you're obviously welcome as my co-host. You're obviously welcome to be there. I don't know if I'm going to interview anyone between now and then. I really got to figure out if I want a background or if I want people to look at my kitchen. Like, I don't even know. Like my house is just, you know, my kitchen's 1,000 miles long, you know, and like my house is
Wow.
really big, and I don't know how to make that into like an effective background. My background, if I put it up, it looks so shitty now because it's just been through like hell and back, and you can see the whole thing now, so it looks like this, and it's all dilapidated and shit. So I think that my as Dean calls it, James's CBC background from 1974, right? And he's right. I'm gonna have to figure out another, like, I don't know. You know what I want? Like a cool looking dressing wall or something like that. You know, like, so something that's dark. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I have to figure background stuff out. So I don't think I want to do an interview until I figure that out. Casual Friday, I can do like this because it's casual.
Yeah, right.
And then for Chomsky, I don't know. Like, I keep on thinking that I want to do something like, you know, worthy of Earth Day, Chomsky on Earth Day. Like, we're talking about the environment for the entire time that he's on. And so, you know, but I'm not good at gimmicks. I'm not a visual art person at all. Like, I don't, you know, so if you have any pointers that you want to give me off air or something like that, that you think that I should put for a background, I'm all ears, because otherwise it's just going to be this. You know?
Do you have a deck outside you can set up on?
I do.
Just be outside, nature.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to worry about if it gets windy, right?
Oh.
I might pick that up and it won't
Well,
sound
how
good.
about I just don't do it if it's windy? You know.
There you go. Just a consideration is all.
What if the wind picks
What
up?
if you're windy? Sorry.
I'm always windy. That's why you got to chew your food.
Everyone knows it's windy.
And windy has.
Everybody at Windy.
I was considering putting a giant monitor behind me, and I'm like, well, I have a
Oh, I have
55
one.
there, but I was thinking about upgrading to a 65, and I'm like, who's kidding who? I can't afford that shit right now. I'm out of coffee because I don't have the money to buy it. So what am I thinking about buying a 65-inch TV? But I could move. I have a 50 in the bedroom that's like 12 years old, and I could put that behind me and just put a graphic on it or something. But I'd have to put it on a wheeling stand, and the stand is more than a new television, so that's not working out either.
You can't just put it somewhere and stationary, just for the show.
Yeah, it would have to be propped up on something, though. That's the thing, and I'd need to come up with. Anyway, I'll figure something out. You know,
Right.
not in a rush.
I've got something for you, James, that you might not have heard of. Since you
If it happened in the last week, I probably
took a
haven't
vacation.
heard of it. Yeah.
Yes. Have you heard anything in the past week about U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas?
No, but what did his wife do?
Well, it seems that Justice Clarence Thomas, even though he's been on the Supreme Court for 31 years or so, and apparently because he seems to be an expert of the law, apparently was not aware, even though apparently he asked a lot of people and they told him that he absolutely did not have to do that he has had for the last 20 years or so, or maybe even more, 30, every year he's been on the bench, had to disclose gifts that he received that costs more than $415 US.
Oh.
But it seems that he has a sugar daddy, a sugar Nazi named Harlan Crow, who has been taking him and the wife on very, very expensive vacations, including a $500,000 9-island hopping trip in Indonesia that cost about, with servants and all that kind of stuff. It seems that Clarence Thomas has ridden often on his personal jet, sometimes without Harlan Crow on it.
Wow, that's a big
It
difference.
seems that he has spent time at the Bohemian Club at many of his properties, and it seems that there is more. It seems that in 2020, Harlan Crow bought some properties in Savannah, Georgia that belonged to Clarence Thomas. Now, Crow says he wanted to preserve their historical nature because it was the childhood home of a former Supreme Court justice. He also funded a documentary on his life, by the way. One of the houses is the one in which Clarence Thomas grew up and in which his mother still resided at the time and still resides now, even though Harlan Crow bought it and completely renovated it. And by law, you're supposed to report sales of real estate of over $1,000, and Clarence Thomas did not report that either.
Is he going to resign?
Pardon?
Is he going to resign, you think?
There's pressure now. It also seems that he gave a funding to an organization that his wife Ginny Thomas works for, and it seems that with that funding, she was able to draw a salary. Can you say paying from something for someone and having 1 degree of separation, children?
Who's the
I
guy?
knew you could.
Arlen Crow?
Harlan Crow.
Who's that?
He's a billionaire.
He's a big, rich, I guess, real estate maybe guy. I'm not quite exactly sure, but very, 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 very generous donor and supporter of the GOP, and also white man from the South who apparently needs to have a signed copy of Mein Kampf in his home, 2 paintings of Hitler, and linens embossed with swastikas to, according to Brent Shapiro, remind himself of how much he hates Nazis.
Remind himself how much he hates Clarence Thomas too, since he's black.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Now, of course, Clarence Thomas is saying, well, Supreme Court justices are allowed to have friends. But I don't know. Do you have lots of friends that treat you to $500 and $415 plus dinners and $500 million yacht trips, a 140-foot yacht, by the way, with servants and all that, and private estates in the Adirondacks and private jet? And
Only one.
buys
I
your
have one
house
friend
for you and
like
lets
that.
your mom live in it. And
I only have one friend like that. I really do.
George?
No.
Not George?
I have a friend who, Marge's high school prom date, Artie Ziff.
Yes. Yeah.
So Artie Ziff is named after Rob and Dirk, hence RD Ziff. Rob and Dirk Ziff, who are the people who what do you call those? The people that inherit shit. What are they called? The kids
Heirs?
that inherit stuff. Anyways, they were the people. They were the kids of Ziff Davis publishing owner. And when their father died, they inherited $1 billion something each. And my friend's one of my good friend's sister married Dirk Ziff. And we went to their compound in Florida, literally 2 compounds away from Mar-a-Lago. And I've never been around more empty, shallow, disgusting people in my entire life. Like to the point where they were like, excuse me, when we eat soup, we do it like this. And they were like teaching me how to eat soup. And I'm like literally picking up the bowl and be like, thanks. Just sip out of the bowl. Like, fuck off. Like, seriously. I didn't last very long there. But yeah, so he has taken me on many trips. I rode in his private plane and everything. Like, well, this is my buddy, like who was able to get that from his sister. But anyways, but other than him, no. But he wasn't a Nazi. I'll tell you that much.
Mr. Grizzly, if you put it up. So yeah, when you were asked about Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, well, here it is. Billionaire Harlan Crow also funds Ginny Thomas's $120,000 annual salary, which she earns by being a religious nut. Billionaire Charge Koch funds the Heritage Foundation, which give Ginny $680,000, as some Clarence also failed to report, along with his annual lavish vacations.
I guess you could say Clarence Thomas is a skinhead. Look at him. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what to make of this anymore.
Political has learned, for instance, that the initial $500,000 contribution came from Dallas real estate investor Harlan Crow, a major GOP donor who held an event for Liberty Central at his home a few months after the group launched. He also once gave Justice Thomas a $19,000 Frederick Douglass Bible as a gift and donated $150,000 to build a new wing named for Thomas on the Savannah, Georgia library that Clarence Thomas visited frequently in his youth. Oh, yes, and Clarence Thomas also apparently in that documentary said that he comes from regular stock and he prefers Walmart parking lots than the beaches, as he's riding on a 140-foot yacht.
Most rich people are cheap, though. So he could be telling the truth there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Barry Sherman still drove like a K car, I think.
Yeah. He was worth what, $6 billion when he was murdered?
It's somewhere between 3 and 10. Yeah, depending on.
So it seems that, as you mentioned, it looks like certain representatives are looking at impeachment proceedings as a real possibility, and there have been calls for the Department of Justice to start opening an investigation.
Well, that'll be interesting for the makeup of the Supreme Court if that happens, because Biden's in office now. And, so maybe there's a positive spin to this, I guess. Isn't it weird how the Supreme Court is supposed to be a body that is beyond politics?
And ironically, it has the lowest ethical standards and ethical laws and rules and whatnot of any government body organization in the entire United States. Because I guess they're Supreme Court justices, so we're just supposed to trust them.
You may find that at the end of the day, once you really take a deep dive into the rules governing the Supreme Court, then maybe he didn't violate any rules. Because it reminds me of the Senate scandal with Mike Duffy.
Right.
He didn't violate any rules at all.
Because there were no rules to violate.
Basically, right? And so this could be one of those things. Like it's easy for a soundbite to be made by a newscaster saying, "Oh, he violated this and that." But when you look under the hood of these rules, they don't have any teeth often, and they don't really count as rules. They count. Some of them are not suggestions. What do they call it? There's like a
permission fees.
Pardon me?
Permission fees.
Well,
it'll cost me $1,000 in fines if I do this. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, anything that because you're still obeying the rule. Oh, I paid that. Or sometimes there's just like things that are permissible, that are sort of that are exceptions to the rules because these rules have no teeth anyways. And then you provide an exception to the rule, and all of a sudden you get to ride in private planes, right? Like it's
Yeah. Now, in the United States, things are a little interesting because a lot of these laws sort of popped up post-Watergate. So there are laws. I'm not sure how much teeth there is. But it says, how can you be a Supreme Court justice for 31 years? There's a law in the book since the day of Watergate that says you need to report gifts of over $415. You receive $500,000 luxury trips. And you're a Supreme Court justice and you don't know you need to report that. And you say that you've asked great legal minds and friends, and they also assured you that you don't need to report that. And you took that as the advice on whether or not to report or not, rather than, I don't know, because you're Supreme Court justice, opening up a frickin' book and looking it up yourself.
Yeah. He wouldn't be a Supreme Court justice if he was nominated today and he had the same thing happening with Anita Hill that he had to deal with when he first became Supreme Court justice.
Well, we can say that, but Brett Kavanaugh became a Supreme Court justice, but
honestly, I think it matters that a black woman was accusing him of doing things that I think that at the time they were very prejudicial against Anita Hill, and I think those prejudices would be not as apparent these days, and I don't think he'd make it.
Here's a question: I think
he would.
If Anita Hill had been white, would Clarence Thomas be a Supreme Court justice?
He would not.
He would not.
Absolutely.
Because it was a black woman.
Not even that.
So she doesn't matter. So we can still.
He wouldn't even be nominated. Yeah. Because they would have known about this stuff, and he wouldn't have been nominated.
Yeah.
She was put through the ringer. Her and Monica Lewinsky were probably the most two bullied women in politics in the 90s, right? Or in the 80s and 90s. I can't remember what year he was
No argument
nominated.
whatsoever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yep.
Completely agree with you. Oh, I got something for you, gentlemen. You want to see this? Another reason to blame Justin Trudeau for all the ills of the world. Canada's inflation rate decelerated to 4.3% in March, down from 5.2% the previous month.
Wow, that's huge.
Economist expectations. Yeah. Damn Trudeau.
Just inflation.
Exactly.
And mortgage rates are starting to go down a little bit as well.
I want the housing market to crash. I really do. I want it to fucking crash.
It's outrageous. I have a friend who's a mortgage specialist, and she was quite thankful the other day when she saw that dip.
Yep. Yeah. So there might be a little relief. So mine for some reason apparently variable mortgages have gone down to about 0.6%. I've not received anything from my mortgage company saying that mine's going on. So First National, hello.
They'll just
get on
keep
that,
the money
please.
train rolling for as long as they can until you say something. Oh, sorry, oversight on our part. We'll correct it now. Yeah, where's the money back? Oh no, I'm sorry.
My problem is I don't know what variable mortgage means. I really don't.
Fluctuating interest rate means your mortgage goes up or down, so your monthly payment can increase or decrease. Usually increase, very, very rarely, if ever, decrease.
I rent. But I have a 4,000 square foot house that I rent for $1,000 a month.
I pay more than that for my rent in a 650 square foot apartment.
That's right. You could fit five. You could fit 5 of your babies in my one house. And I'm just saying. But I live in a forest.
I was going to say you live in a forest, whereas I'm a 15-minute walk. I live in a 15-minute city.
Yeah. Racist. or something.
I don't have to show a card when I leave the zone.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever had to do that was during the occupation when they had booted them all out and they kept zones for the area around until they made sure it was safe again. And then they immediately disbanded that once the EA was dropped.
Yeah. Fucking 50
Yeah.
You can't have good ideas these days because you have a good. I mean, I don't even know if the 15-minute city is a good idea. I don't know much about it. All I know is that the reaction to it was so hilarious that it was probably a decent idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, the idea behind it is everything was in the 15-minute walk. Doctors, office, grocery stores, entertainment, everything you need in your life. Well, that's it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like, it's not like they were saying you couldn't go to zone 2 to get your dentist to work, right? It's not like schools where you have school zones, right? It wouldn't be the same thing. It's like, I'm sorry, you're shopping at the metro over here when 3 blocks away is your metro, you're going to get a fine. Like, it wasn't like that, right? Like,
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, everything is either within a 15-minute walk or a 15-minute train ride away.
Oh, a train ride where they pack you on trains? Is that what you're saying, Paul?
Good.
You know what? It's fun to pretend that you're a reaction.
Of the people they put on those trains?
No, they don't care. As long as they get their paintings and their gold, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. You know, if you pretend that you're a reactionary for a day, it is hilarious. It's so fun because you can just take anything and just twist it into something nefarious. You know, take anything. Go ahead, say anything. I'll turn it into something nefarious.
Free childcare. Free childcare. No, how about free
communist
post-secondary education?
Oh, a communist and you're trying to indoctrinate our children into the world of communism. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
better airbags in the cars.
Pardon me?
Better airbags in the cars.
Sissies.
Back in my day, we didn't even have seatbelts, and it was good enough for us.
You're not flying through a windshield during your accident. You're not a man.
The good Lord will protect me.
That's right.
I got Jesus as my passenger.
I had a buddy that I used to work with who did go through the windshield.
He's a patriot.
Well, he
hero.
No, he's going to say something bad now. I apologize in advance.
So it's okay. It's okay. He was off work for 2 months. He was in the hospital, and then he went back to work. And he went back to work too early, as far as I'm concerned. But he finally did get his settlement, and it was a healthy one, which it should have been because the driver was shit-faced. Oh, did I mention
also a patriot?
Did I mention that they were coming home from a company Christmas party? Oops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so he got a settlement from the guy driving the car, and the guy's, "Why are you suing me?" He goes, "I'm not suing anybody. My insurance company is going after your insurance company." And then he went after the insurance company for the company who held the party because they didn't. If you hold a company party of any type and alcohol is served, whether or not you provide the alcohol, say you had it in a bar somewhere and people had drinks, it is your responsibility as an employer to make sure that they get home safely, whether it's taxi chits or Uber or you have a shuttle bus that drops everybody off. That wasn't the case. These guys were driving out in the country. The driver, drunk out of his mind, went off the road in the wintertime, wrapped the car around a telephone pole. My buddy went through the windshield. He got up, trying to figure out what was going on. Then he realized the car was starting to go up in flames. So he pulled the driver out. He had a broken jaw. Two slip discs in his back. I think he had a broken arm and a broken leg. Like, he was in the hospital for months. And he showed me photos of it, and his face was swollen up because he went head first through the windshield. The only reason he didn't get cut up was because he had on a toque, a really thick toque, and he was kind of asleep at the time like this. So when he went flying through, his head was down. So he didn't even know until he woke up in the snow. Wow. He was lucky to live through it, but he's on a cocktail of medication for the rest of his life he's like in pain nonstop. He can eat a handful of OxyContin and he says it barely takes the edge off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I've heard of situations where the people that leave those parties drunk can actually sue the company themselves for letting them leave drunk.
Yep.
You know?
Well, that did happen. Everybody got sued everywhere. And in the end, the driver, he got a settlement from the company. The passenger got a settlement from the driver and the company. And it was just the insurance companies that paid it all out. It never came out of anybody's pocket, but I'm sure their rates went up.
Yeah.
Mm.
But he's lucky to be alive and a good guy, real solid guy. He helped me out when I was going through a really rough patch a few years ago, and he called me up, says, "How's it going?" I'm like, "Not good, not good." He goes, "What's going on?" And I told him the story. He goes, "Here's $300." I'm like, "Well, I can't repay that." He goes, "Don't repay it ever. I don't want it back. I want you to pay it forward. If somebody else ever needs a hand up at a time, give them a helping hand." I'm like, "Done. I will never."
Can you send me $300, Paul? Okay.
Dude, I can't afford coffee right now. I would if I could.
You know what's funny? Financially, I've never been better.
Oh,
Everything else is going badly, but financially, I'm fine.
Oh. Yeah. I'm stretched real thin right now. Let's put it that way. It's going to change soon. I've got a raise coming, and I got a bonus coming, and I did some extra work. So yeah, I got. I'll be fine. I'll be fine soon. It's just always darkest before the dawn, right?
That's right.
Got a little bit more news if you want to tackle the subject. Okay.
Sure.
The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, recently testified at the Parliamentary Committee about the whole election interference influence thing by the Communist Party of the People's Republic of China. And during that testimony is when we found out that Mr. Peeair was refusing to get the security clearance. Now, there was an instant before where MP Mark Holland had said that Peeair had refused one, but turns out he had never actually been offered one, and he corrected that that misstatement in the House. But here's the question. How can you even be offered that type of security briefing if you don't want to be cleared first?
Yeah,
you wouldn't even get an offer. You'd get an offer to be cleared, but not an offer for the briefing.
If you're not clear to see it, yeah.
Right.
Someone probably just misspoke, right? Like in that situation?
Yeah, it's just misspoke, right? But that's what. But when you're talking about words matter and how people like take that little kernel of truth and then they run with it, as he wasn't even offered it. See, he lied. You can't trust everything they say. Okay, well, wait a minute. Maybe the reason why he didn't refuse one. Sorry, he wasn't offered because he refused the screening.
Wow. Oh.
Okay. So, and then we have a bit of a situation where it was almost like when they say the dog caught the car and then they don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So they spent all this time. They spent about 3 weeks trying to get her to testify, and the Liberals were filibustering it until she just said, "You know what? I'll just testify." She volunteered. And then they said, okay, so they sent her in to, well, no. They didn't send her. You were demanding her. And she said, yes, she would come. Yes. So you asked for her. She came. And then when you watched that, the questions they asked were horrible. They were not pointed. They were not precise. They were not seeking to look at getting any information. Most of the conservative questions were basically speeches with talking points. They wanted her, and they did not prepare her.
They were looking for future ads. They were looking to see if she would dither, and so they could have future ads. I tried to watch that from the mental ward of the Pembroke Hospital, but Trevor kept on throwing crayons at the screen, so we couldn't actually watch it. I'm not even joking.
Trevor!
I can understand why you throw crayons at the screen. Those questions were all horrible.
They were all written in crayons. Maybe Trevor was onto something. Maybe he was really trying to communicate something poignant at that moment.
Yes, they wrote their questions in crayons.
That's right.
I'm telling you. Stop throwing them, but they really did.
Did anyone ask her anything?
Crayon best.
I really don't know, because I mean, there was
how can she answer?
There was almost no news at all from it. You would think that it would have been this big explosive day, considering how much noise they made about getting, and it just like went by. Bloop, bloop.
Because she could barely say anything. That's the reason. She could barely say anything. They'd ask her questions. She goes, "I can't answer that. I can't answer that." It's like,
and those were the questions. They kept on asking her those questions. So stunt questions.
That's the ad.
Him asking that, to which they could not get an answer.
That's the ad.
So again,
that's the ad.
You care about national security.
Yeah. That's what they're going to use for the ad. They're going to be talking about liberals being secretive, liberals being dictators, liberals being authoritarian, and they're going to say that their evidence is her saying, I can't answer that question. I can't answer that question. I can't answer that question. It's just going to be a repeat of that, and that'll be the next series of ads.
That was it. Yeah. So
How much
Basically,
have they fundraised off this so far?
we haven't gotten a number, but I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot. Now, they had NDP MP Rachel Blaney, who was on the committee, had asked Telford, quote, "So I'm just wondering if there would be a willingness to say, you're right, we should have just done this in the first place," which was going to the public inquiry right off the bat. And Telford said, "I believe what is a bigger problem in terms of things festering at the moment is the partisanship and hyperbole that has been brought to this so often. And it's why the special rapporteur was necessary, because somebody had to be able to figure out what those other appropriate next steps might be."
Yeah.
So they asked her about the classified information specifically, which is information their leader refuses to get cleared to be able to see, and information that has been seen by 2 Conservative MPs, because there are 2 Conservative MPs on the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, but none of us in the public are privy to what they did with that information or how they communicated it to their caucus or their leader.
Are they allowed
And
to?
of course, there's got to be some. You can't comment saying
weird.
that I saw this intelligence, but you should be able to say, I saw this and there's nothing here, or we should be worried about these types of things.
But isn't it odd that we're
I mean,
in
why
a
have 2
position?
MPs on if they can't relay that everything they've seen is at least all clear?
Well, that's the weird part, right? Because now there are so there's some backbencher MP. I don't know who the MPs are, but maybe they're shadow ministers. I have no idea. But
Alex Ruff and somebody Morrison.
So it sounds like a
Backbenchers.
backbencher, maybe one shadow minister or something. But they are now privy to a higher level of classified information than their own opposition leader is, than their own leader is.
Right.
That is a very strange glitch in our system. I don't know how you. First of all, I don't know how you can't conclude that Poilievre doesn't know. I'm positive that they told him. The Conservatives are like that. I don't see any situation where Poilievre is like, as the leader, is like, don't tell me. I don't have the right to know. There's no way. There's a dark corner somewhere in the House of Commons or in Queen's Park in Ottawa where he knows. That would be my guess. Like they're not. I don't know if you guys know this, but they're not very ethical. Conservatives.
No.
Duh. But
Got some breaking news here, guys. Breaking news.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw this on the screen.
Oh, yes, because it's 9.
Galen Weston to be replaced as president and CEO of Loblaws.
Yeah.
He'll be replaced starting next year. The company announced the news in a press release on Tuesday morning. He will be replaced by Peeair, who is currently CEO of one of Denmark's largest retailers. While he will no longer be president and CEO, Weston will remain executive chairman of the company.
So nothing will change.
Nothing will change. Window dressing.
Not really happy with the Liberals on that one. I enjoyed watching. Who was it that was asking
Jugmeat?
Jagmeet? Yeah, Jagmeet disappoints me over and over again, but not that moment. He was amazing. How do you have record profits when all of us are struggling? Well, profits are defined by no, sir. How do you have record profits? And he was right.
Yeah.
And Trudeau
and that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, Trudeau and Galen Weston are friends, right? Aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's interesting what you say, though, that he knows. Because here's my thing, right? Is if you have every party has MPs on that committee, the NSICOP committee. So there has to be a mechanism for them to relay back to their party something about what they say. Now, they probably can't make, again, comment about the specifics of the intelligence, but they should be able to say whether things are all board, areas where there are things that are lacking, things where we should be concerned. Here's an angle that we might, without giving them the intelligence information, there has to be some way to relay it back to the party, because there's no point of having an all-parliamentary committee from all parties if you can't relay some information back. There's probably heavy restrictions on what you can. But Peeair,
I guarantee
something.
Yeah, whatever was said in committee, Poilievre knows everything.
He probably knows everything because these people can't keep secrets and they lie and cheat as their DNA. And I personally still believe that probably some of those 2 members are probably some of the sources of some of the leaks, because they never say like this members of the, like former CSIS employees, but it's sort of like people in the national security community.
Yeah.
Well, that could be anyone.
Yeah.
That's pretty broad. But no media has asked the Conservative Party yet. It says, well, you have 2 MPs on that committee. Now, what have you been told about what they have heard? Because right now you have a leader of the opposition that is making comments on national security without knowing the intelligence. So he's making comments knowing nothing. based on zero knowledge personally, because he's not supposed to have it.
But is he making? I'm wondering if, first of all, shocker, the media is not doing their job. I'm completely shocked about that. Second, if Poilievre is, Poilievre often gives it. He suffers from hubris. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else in the room. So there, you might be able to read into his questions. Like that question was way too well worded for you not to know what's happening inside that committee. You know, like but the media is not going to ask those questions. They're just not going to. And the media that would, you know, doesn't get a seat at the table in order to be able to ask those questions. I've been trying to get Poilievre on my show for like a year and a half, and I keep getting his assistant, like, you know, kind of giving me the runaround, you know, because they know that I've had people on the show like before that are in politics and national politics. I've interviewed, not for my show, but I've interviewed Trudeau twice. They know who I am, but they won't ever let Poilievre on my show. Even though I let people like Max Bernier on my show and Christine Anderson on my show, like, you know, like it's interesting because they don't want, conservatives are more afraid of hard questions than the liberals are, you know, and the liberals are in power. So what does that tell you?
Yep.
You know?
Now, so we got a situation at the moment that in committee, while there are cameras and cameras rolling and microphones recording, conservatives are very interested to know what the intelligence contains, despite them being fully aware that in that setting the information cannot be given, right? Because Katie Telford said how many times, I can't unfortunately speak to the specifics of what the Prime Minister has or has not been briefed on in all of this. So the Prime Minister has been briefed. We can't tell him what the specifics they've been briefed on. So the Prime Minister has the security clearance, clearly, because he's been briefed. We know that. So they want to know all the information when they're in committee, which they can't have because it can't be said publicly. But then when they are offered an opportunity to actually get the information in private, well, then suddenly they get stricken with a collective case of lack of curiosity.
Can I ask you guys a question, just to play devil's advocate?
Please.
What was because my rabbit hole started a couple weeks before I left, but I don't remember how the whole, what was his name? Han Dong? Is that his name?
Yep.
I don't remember how that was, if it was ever resolved. Like there was whispers about a mistranslation. You know, there was stuff like that.
Yes.
So really, do we know?
Vanished.
So we don't know. So it's entirely possible.
And it just
It's entirely possible that he was compromised, right? Like that is one possibility, that he was compromised by a foreign government.
Yep.
Okay.
We have nothing one way or another
So
to let us know.
sorry.
We have nothing one way or another to let us know other than his own statement. Now it seems like his life has been completely ruined. But I mean, if you are an agent, well, that's what you would expect an agent to say. So we don't know.
Interesting.
But we don't know. All we know is that there was information that was not consistent because intelligence is not evidence, right? It needs to be verified. And sometimes there's deliberately faulty intelligence that is put in to throw people off track or to see if somebody ratted something out that they weren't supposed to say if they're trustworthy. So all that is in there.
But the problem with
he's
that is that
basically
he
said
has if he's completely innocent and you don't come out and say he's completely innocent, and here's why. You're sort of extending the scandal or the potential of the scandal to last a lot longer. It is interesting to me that they haven't cleared him publicly because
the party has said it. They've stood by him and he's suing, but nobody from the intelligence community or whatnot has come up and said anything.
And I think part of the reason is it was because there's a defamation case going to well, I'm sure it will go to trial. I have no doubt.
But we won't be able to know any of those details either.
No, exactly. Anything that involves secrecy, we'll never know about.
But if he wasn't funded by China, then there is no secrecy. What are they protecting? That's
I don't know.
How they investigated that to find out?
Maybe
that he doesn't.
I mean, Sam Cooper is a solid reporter. Like he is not a shitty reporter by any means. I'm not saying that I know anything about this particular situation. I talked to him, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, whenever the story broke. I talked to him a few days after. He wouldn't really tell me much, but you know, but his reporting was so solid for his book Willful Blindness. Which is a bestseller. It's a book about the Chinese tentacles into Canadian politics, into casinos and money laundering and drug dealing and all that kind of stuff. I would be very surprised to find out that he just willy-nilly threw a story together like this unless there was some sort of political bias on the behalf of a CSIS agent or something that wanted to plant a story that wasn't true and use Sam Cooper as almost like a useful idiot or something. Because Sam Cooper's not the type of
I think
person.
that may very well be the case.
Yeah, it could be.
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Because when they talked about this translation, the word could either mean support or not support, and it's all tonalities in Mandarin, right? And
it wasn't support or not support. It was about the release of the two Michaels,
right?
That's right.
And it was the difference between immediately and delay. Should
Right.
be released immediately,
And the word sounds the same.
You should delay the release.
It's the pronunciation. Like, for example, I'll say something now, and I'm going to say it incorrectly, but in Mandarin, ma 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 means grandmother is beating the old dead horse, but it's all in the intonation on how you say the word. It's the same word, but it's how you say
I'm
it.
not trying to laugh, but I thought you were.
No, I know.
I thought you were having a stroke. I wasn't sure what was happening there for a second.
Well, one of the things my buddy told me, he says that the language is not as complex as you would think. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, in many ways, and he's Chinese. He's Chinese Canadian. Okay, he immigrated here from Hong Kong when he was very young, and he speaks with a pretty heavy accent. We worked together for a long time. Good guy. And he said to me, the language is very guttural. And I go, what do you mean? He says, well, you might look at me and say, Paul, could you go over to the coffee table over there and get that candle, bring it over here and light it for me? Whereas he says, if you did a word-for-word translation into, because he spoke Cantonese dialect, he would say in Cantonese, it would be, you, table, candle, here, light. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, all the other subtleties that you have in the English language do not exist in the Chinese language, which I didn't know. So, TMYK.
Yeah, I knew intonation is big in Chinese dialects. Like, so I get that. But we don't... Has anyone done a story about how, because remember when Obama, just before he left office, he expelled all of these Russian diplomats from the embassy. And it came out that, and this wasn't surprising to a lot of people who follow politics, that host governments fucking spy on embassies. They spy on, they tap the phone lines. They know what's going on, right? Yeah. So, but we don't talk about it, right? Like, it's really interesting. I watched, probably to my detriment, but when I was in the hospital, I spent an inordinate amount of time watching Declassified, which is the spy program talking about all these different spy stories and stuff. And it's really, really neat how we can like get all kind of like uppity about the potential for a foreign entity to be spying on us. And especially if you're the United States or something, when the United States is like spying on everybody. And it's so funny how we clutch our pearls. Like, oh my God. But at the same time, we need to realize that the only reason that phone call was even known to happen is because we fucking tap the lines at the Chinese embassy. That's what we do. That's what fucking governments do. And so maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe that needs to be the subject because, and no one's ever going to talk about it. That matters. But if we talk about it, like, I don't know, there seems to be a weird hypocrisy that governments kind of undertake and sort of thrust upon themselves when they don't want to confirm or deny and everything. But like, has any reporter been like, how do we have access to this phone call? Oh, I can't tell you. Oh, well, I can tell you. You tap the phones, right?
It's not like there's 75,000 options here.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much one option. That looks racist. That's not
Theo's
a Chinese. Oh my God, Peeair probably up.
I know. But we read that comment too. Like whoever this artist is, keeps on making him look like Xi Jinping.
Wow,
with the hair.
That's Theo Moudakis. That was Theo.
Is that intentional?
I would have to say.
That's so funny. Put it back up.
I would have to say.
Come on. He looks like the North Korean leader. He looks like little Kim. He totally does.
Little Kim.
Well, I love that he's wearing short pants.
Oh my God, little Kim.
No, we don't call those shorts. We call those short pants, right?
Oh my God.
He used to be the guy in short pants.
The one we don't like.
Yeah. He used to be.
That's the one that doesn't go kitschy guy. Yeah.
That's right. That's who. What's his face? The senator from the Senate scandal there.
Mike Duffy.
Duff, as I call him. I still talk to him, by the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
He won't go on my show. He's like, my lawyer my lawyer won't let me do your show, James. And I'm like, come on, Duff. Like, you just fucking, when do you listen to lawyers? Since when does that happen? Right? Like, but but it's funny because when he was talking about the kids in short pants during the Senate scandal, he really kind of meant Peeair Poilievre. Peeair Poilievre was the original short pants kid because he was a 23-year-old secretary to the prime minister. You know, that was his first job as an MP when he got elected. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, my buddy worked for him at the time. I'm not going to tell you what my buddy did, but he worked for Skippy at that time when he first got in.
Yeah.
He
was part of the staff.
You need to send me that cartoon because I think I am going to do the little Kim hashtag. I'm going to do a side-by-side with little Kim.
That's right. The kids in short
Which
pants.
little Kim do you prefer?
Yeah.
Start a poll.
I know which one I like.
We should just call him Lil P or something. You know?
Little Peeair.
Little Peen.
Lil. L-I-L.
Man. We are terrible.
I'm terrible. I'm sorry. I've already
Hey,
degraded your
shoot
show.
it.
I've been back 6 seconds. I'm already like, fucking network's going to get phone calls again. Fuck.
Wasn't me.
It was me. Fuck, everyone knows who it was.
Yeah, if James ever recorded that Shaggy song, it would like last like 5 seconds. Yeah, it was me.
That's be the whole song. Then you did around the counter? Yeah, I
it was
did.
me.
I did it right on the fucking counter. That's right.
You said
Was
this
me.
hour? Yeah, it was me.
Yeah. I fucking filmed it. It was a
me,
live
man.
stream. Of course it was me. Who else is
Did
it?
it on the P Hub.
Yeah, that was me. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, that was me. Boom, boom, boom.
Take it to the hub.
Whatever
Oh,
you
I've got
say,
your- I've
it
got
was
your,
me. I don't even care. I'm going to preempt
If
all that shit. It was me.
If ever I did that video, though, you don't remember when Ray Charles had his girls?
Yeah.
Mhm,
You got
mhm.
that right? Well,
Oh.
baby.
That was the greatest
The Rayettes.
biography of any musician ever. That Ray movie.
Oh,
was
yeah.
the
Yeah,
greatest
that was
ever.
great.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant.
If I did that video, like this, and I said, yeah, it was me. Like this, I'd have like 3 girls like just like running around like this and just pop around the corner. Yeah, that was me. Over there. Yeah, that was me.
Well, I've got a little bit of. Have you aired this yet, James? Yeah. Well, you had this up on YouTube. The Spits, Blackballed Spits.
I don't have any memory of any of this.
Okay, so this was the one you did, and I tweaked it a bit. So I'm going to show this because I think this is pretty cool. It's 3 minutes of James doing some beat poetry, as they call it.
Oh, cool.
Check this out.
I don't
think
remember.
you'll like
I don't
this.
remember this.
Who pays the last soldier for dying? Who pays his widow Who pays his respect widow for trying respect to for trying to
with
cope with
life that's now
life
hopeless.
that's now hopeless?
And I watched that.
And I watched that
just
she
like
quivered
skinny
just like
erotica.
skinny erotica.
She played the harmonica.
She played the harmonica.
The song was
But the
always
song
sweet
was
and
always
cold.
sweet and cold.
Häagen-Dazs.
Häagen-Dazs.
Her mother was an
Her mother was an
independent
independent
socialite.
socialite.
And she wouldn't cite
And she
the
wouldn't
fight
cite
between what's wrong and right.
what's wrong and right,
Like maggots and
maggots
rice.
and rice. And my advice:
Don't play games
don't
in the
play
hard
games
knocks
in the
with
hard knocks with brain
Get
waves.
twisted
Get
like
twisted like hair
or rich
braids.
folks
Or
who
rich
share
folks who
maids.
share
The
maids.
scene
The
fades
scene
into the fifth
fades into the
floor
fifth
apartment
floor
with
apartment with drawn shades.
The switchblades in a left
switchblades
hand.
in a left
In a
hand.
right.
In
A
a right.
Chardonnay.
A
She's
Chardonnay.
enraged
She's
at
in
her mother's payback. State facts, she says. Only her reflection stares back with eyes black. It was like a vanity attack. Based on her sanity and fact. Small things that break down foundations like cavities to plat. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned by the men who make their hearts reborn, who sanctify themselves when souls are being torn. But this girl had a library of text and a mental. She flexed wondermentally essential to the men who bow down to this monumental. She was like love's instrumental. A backdrop for something special. The crack spot for life's essentials. She completed a perfect vessel busted. God must have blessed her. She was a gift of poetry. She would even move in slow-mo. It seems like dreams
clouds
when
blow
over the scenery. She was an entity. For seconds she had beckoned me to question the one fantasy of ecstasy, but prophecies, they strengthened me. Because now, man, I see a temptress that's sent to suffocate my being. But I won't look back. I'll stay on track, but this girl was stacked like chips in crap games, and my conscience went sightseeing. I stabbed my best friend in his back and watched him tumble like a fat guy, extreme scheme. Paradox of a human being. My thoughts, they're twisting like dreadlocks, if you know what I'm seeing. Like a rarity of complete mental clarity before she stared at me, made a raise in my disparity, then sanctified herself and went from virgin to vulgarity.
making me feel trapped in a place between heaven and hell, between good taste and a bad smell. Freedom, jail-tailed, I can hear church bells, I'm frozen like William Tell. The apple of my eye as I look inside the wishing well. But she was bleeding, badly bleeding, bleeding till her heart started beating. Needing my name and hating my game, but what do? I put a pox in you and shocked you and dreamt that they stalked you and killed you like cops do. I can't remember who I'm talking to. Man, I used to feel like we were like the Capulets and Montagues, meant to be like harmony. Yeah, like gods of love and mythology. But now my memory is groggy, my eyelids, they drip soggy, and I'll still visit you in the cemetery when the night's thick and foggy, but I'll remember the way your brown hair fell gently off your shoulders, but pray tell. Now I'm the widow. And you? You're like that unpaid dying soldier. And the nights are colder in the apartment on the 5th floor. But forevermore, I lie awake and create my own translation of the strings and swords.
Whoa.
There you go.
I was really high.
That was my bad. I had mixed minus on.
I was on a lot of Adderall when I did that. I really was. Yeah. It's
was
weird.
good,
It's
though.
weird.
It's good.
It's weird listening to that. Well, especially when you put that weird echo on. Don't ever do that again, okay?
Oh, that was not intentional. That was a mistake
okay.
on my part. I apologize.
I thought you were live mixing.
That was not intentional. No. I forgot to switch something on there in the background. It was my bad.
I wrote that, by the way, 24 years ago.
Do you remember
really?
what inspired it?
Yeah, I do. It was. Do you remember I had Dr. Draw on, the Eugene Draw, the violinist?
Mm-hmm.
He wrote, or he freestyled like a 3.5 minute violin solo, and I chopped the first minute and 15 seconds of it, and wrote to that pattern, and just like it was such an amazing, emotional piece that that I ended up writing that. And
Did
so
you ever overlay it?
I tried to do it to like a beat when I was younger, but I wasn't a polished rapper back in the day. Like I would squish too many syllables in bars and stuff, and I wasn't, as polished or whatever as I am now. But I'd love to try to do it again. Like
What if there were no beats? It was just to the strings.
It was just to the strings, and he couldn't repeat it because it was such a like an emotional solo that he could have probably. It would take him a while, but we didn't bother trying to do that. So I just wrote it to the one-time thing that he did. And so
You didn't record it?
No, I didn't. I never recorded it.
Oh, because that would have been cool to then overlay that over the...
I'm sorry. The piece exists somewhere in someone's hard drive that isn't mine.
Gotcha.
but yeah.
Well, this way it's a piece of beat poetry, a la the original version of the Revolution Will Not Be Televised. The original version was just beat poetry with no music. The music came long afterwards. So it's very Gil Scott-Heron-like, if you ask me.
Yeah,
that's my personal
I love doing that type of shit because you have so much more freedom. You're not boxed in bars. Like I don't have to make sure I land on the kick or the pocket. I can just do whatever.
Yeah, the 4/4 timing or something.
More like theater.
All right, gentlemen, do we have a show?
Let's wrap it up. We do indeed. We do.
Right.
We do.
Thank you guys, by the way.
I
Appreciate
have
you letting
to,
me barge in here like this.
Oh,
No,
it's a
glad
joy
to
to
see you.
spend
Glad you're doing better, buddy. I was worried about you there, but I'm glad you're doing much better, and we'll get together soon, and we'll do some collaboration.
All right, buddy. Yeah, let's do so. Let's do it. Why don't I leave so you guys can do your normal way that you guys sign off, okay? So thank you again. I appreciate both of you very much. I love you guys both, and I'll see you Friday, Douglas. And me and you probably too
Love you
as
too,
well.
brother. Yeah, I'll pop in Friday for a bit. Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.
See you.
wow. Not the show we expected.
No, but you know what? Sometimes that's again the beauty of this medium. We can go madly off in all directions.
Yeah.
And sometimes magic happens. I think we had a lot of really poignant moments today. And I think we furthered the discussion on mental health and the importance of paying attention to it. Because I'm still in the middle of something right now. So, and it's something that we need to talk about more. And I've said this in the past, but I'm going to preface it again that my buddy John Melky, from btr.com, blasttheradio.com. He's on Twitch and he tunes into our show when he can. He has what he's got called the BTRV, and he's going to be going around Ontario, possibly around the country, doing live podcasts and recording podcasts. The whole thing is talking about mental health, and he wants to interview different people and talk about how they get through their day. And it's pushing the narrative forward of we need to invest more healthcare dollars in mental health. And let's stretch it a bit to where I went earlier with this little paragraph from this young woman. Every time there's a mass shooting, they always talk about, it's a mental health issue, but nobody has health care coverage for mental health in the United States. I shouldn't say nobody, but there's millions who have zero health care coverage, zero insurance. It's all out of pocket. And I can go and see a therapist tomorrow, but it's $350 an hour. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
So I'm entitled up to, I think it's $1,800 or $2,000 a year in therapy, but trying to get into see a therapist that will accept my insurance. Now, somebody did provide me with a lead, and they've matched me with somebody, but I have to get everything worked out with my insurance company before I can do anything, because they want me to pay up front, and I'm like, okay, I can probably do that. Let's see if we can figure this out. So, I had one before, but that all changed because the company got purchased. We got a new benefits package, and everything changed in that. And anyway, that's my issue to worry about, not yours.
No, I mean, we still care, right?
Oh, and I appreciate that, but it's just something I got to work out. One other pile on the pile of work that never ends. It just keeps going higher and higher. It never ends. And see, the camera follows me, so pile gets way up here. Way up here. Let me go. Look up, look way up, and I'll call Rusty.
It's funny that you should mention that. Because our friend DaCosta.
Yes, that's why I did.
Oh, that's why you did it? Okay. Because I was looking for an opportunity to show it. You just gave me. Long live the friendly giant, CBC News, Q recorder solo. So you got the friendly giant talking to Jerome and Rusty, and all of a sudden, I'm not sure which one of them to say that, but that might be Jerome, I'm guessing, because he seems to have his neck stretched. He goes, "Who the fuck is that?" Now this is Friendly Giant Nights, kids.
Friendly Giant After Hours.
And then, as the Friendly Giant is rearranging the little rocking chair, you got a little picture of Skippy running in the conservative polo he was wearing that got him slapped with the compliance order from Alexis Canada, going, "I'm telling Elon Musk on you." Oh, DaCosta, I love you. Early one morning. Oh, man. So, yes, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Daily Beaver podcast, because we loved listening to us. Because we loved listening to us. We hope you did too. We hope you loved listening to us, because we loved making this for you, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure, that wasn't a Freudian slip.
Oh, well, okay, let's admit it. We do love the sound of our own voices.
Well, of course I do, because I have a mellifluous speaking voice. Who wouldn't want to listen to me speak all day long? My goodness gracious.
Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless.
That was sarcasm, by the way,
Yes.
just to make sure
Yes.
for the people listening,
Yes.
just the listeners, that was sarcasm. You couldn't see the look on my face. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. I'm not nearly that vain.
You're so vain. You probably think this cast is about you. You're so vain. Don't you? Remember
They
that.
always thought the song was written about Mick Jagger because he sings backup. He's the guy singing. You're so vain. He's in the background. If you pay attention, now that I've told you
Is
about
that
him in it, go back and listen to it, and you'll now. Oh, that is Mick Jagger. But until I told you that, you didn't know. Trust me, go listen to the song later.
Okay.
You'll hear his voice. Now that you know to look for it, it'll be like, oh my God, it is Mick Jagger. They thought it was about him for years. It was never about him.
I always heard that the song was about Warren Beatty.
That was the other rumor. She said she'll never reveal who it was written about.
She'll never tell. I also like that Janet Jackson sampled it for one of her songs.
Yeah.
It was like I like that. And Carly Simon actually came in and joined her on that duet to do that as well, which is kind of fun from her Velvet Rope album. I can't remember what the title is.
I follow Carly on TikTok. I think she's having health issues.
Okay.
I don't know if she's had a stroke or something. I think she's having health issues. That's all I'm going to say. If you go search her out on TikTok, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Sadeka. Yeah. She knows. She knows what time it is. Janet's version was amazing too. Yeah. I agree. If you really
Janet also sampled Joni too. Remember?
Yeah. On
Joni
the
Mitchell?
same album. Yeah. With Got Till It's Gone.
What was it? Big Yellow Taxi is what she sampled it from.
Exactly. So two albums with two great samples. If you really liked this podcast, you can find us on Crier Media Network as well as all Beaver Grizzly friendly platforms. Stars and reviews are appreciated. And of course, if the kids are wondering why it is I have Janet Jackson on my mind, it's because she's on tour and I was looking up to get tickets. But unfortunately, I believe I'm on stage on the day that she is, the one day she is in Canada. World Tour, Canada, one day. We'd love to hear from you. Reach us on our Facebook page, reach us on our Twitter feed at TrueEager, or by email at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. And there is someone that sent us a note on it, and we will read it eventually on the show. But I want you to know that we did get it. Thank you very much. You can subscribe to us via our pod page if you want to get anything from us as soon as it's fresh off the bandwidth. For that, you go to podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And, well, then you get everything that we've got as soon as we got it for you. And if you happen to be watching because you like video and you happen to be on our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube channel, well then, geez, why don't you subscribe? And do like Kit Elaine always recommends, smash that button because that helps us big time. Helps us out big time. I'm stumbling as I'm getting to the end. I think we hit 225. So thank you very much, Kits. We really appreciate that. We can't do this without you and your kind and generous support. So if you feel that we've done a particularly good show, and if you're watching, well, you can scan the QR code that I'm sure Mr. Grizzly will put up right near his head very soon. You just take your cell phone and get a little click on that, and that will bring you to our coffee page. And if you happen to be listening, well, then you take your beautiful digits, those dainty, beautiful digits, on those lovely, lovely hands that you could do Palmolive commercials with because they're
provided you have hands and fingers.
Provided you have hands and fingers. If not, then you use your voice and give a command, and you ask to go to our coffee page, which is ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word, lowercase letters. ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one case, lowercase letters. And that's where you can make your donation and make sure that Mr. Grizzly has some coffee so that we can have some coffee talk. No big whoop.
Exactly.
Well, from the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying until next time, dear kids, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And unfortunately, it does not look like there will be any tennis for me today because it's about 4 degrees Celsius and it feels like 0.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for us before we go, please, sir?
Take care of your mental health. Do what James did. If you're having a hard time, make the call. If you need to spend time in a hospital, do so. Put yourself first. Choose yourself.
It's okay to be selfish.
I know it's not easy. It's okay to be selfish in this instance. Yep. And I know it's not easy. I know it's very difficult. Believe me, I'm there, but this too shall pass, but take care of yourself.
Yeah. And may I say, my good friend, I am impressed.
Why?
Because you're not going through the best time at the moment. And you did this with a level of composure and poise and professionalism that exceeds most people when they're having a good day.
I
So-
don't know about that. I've been dealing with this for 43 years. It's just how I exist.
Take the compliment, my friend.
Okay,
It's true.
thanks.
And everybody here, I'm sure, will agree.
Thank
Everybody
you.
watching, I'm sure, will agree. And thank you, Kits, for indulging us, taking a bit of a turn on the show, going in a different way. It wasn't all politics. I tried to sprinkle in some in a little bit because James has some interesting perspectives, particularly on the darker, more controversial stuff. So, but I'm glad that you appreciated this show and the turn that we took, because you have to understand, Kits. Yeah, we want to do the political literacy piece, and we want to do the media literacy piece, and we want you to be engaged in your democracy, and we want you to get involved, and we don't want you to feel powerless, and we want you to know that, there's a place for you on Team Canada. But first and foremost, we want to build community. Right? None of that happens without a bunch of dedicated people willing to say, for example, hey, you know what, we're going to do this for democracy this time, or we're all going to sign this petition, or we're going to phone bank for someone, or we're going to, or we're all, if you live in this electoral district, we're going to, this is the person in second place that has the best chance of defeating someone we don't like. We're going to coordinate. But to do that, you need to build a community first. You got to get a group of people that come here that have somewhat like mind, not all the same, but somewhat like mind, who care about each other. We've seen it. We've had people, Kits, that have been going through life things, and they talk about it on the chat, and they get support from everyone else here. We're trying to form a community because I keep on saying there are many more of us than there are of them. And we're quiet and we're passive. Or
The
we
silent
just
majority.
say, we trust that the system will handle it eventually. But these things don't happen alone. These things don't happen alone. They happen because, as that saying goes, right? Never doubt that change can be brought about by a small group of dedicated people. In fact, it's the only thing that has. So I want us to be that small group of dedicated people. And maybe eventually not so small. So what it
I
is that
think
you do here,
there's
Kits, it matters. And I thank you.
I think there's more of us than people realize. Like you say, it's the silent majority. And I think we will remain silent no more because we've seen too many abuses. Look, and we all understand that it takes time to get legislation written, passed into law, change the laws, and it can be done. But sometimes it takes years. And in many cases right now, we don't have years. For somebody who is suffering on ODSP, they don't have years. It's day to day. So be mindful of that if you could. We need to understand that, yes, it takes time, but sometimes we need to act quickly and accordingly. Quickly accordingly.
Yeah.
Not and accordingly. Quickly accordingly.
I agree with you. There's the now moment sometimes requires action that's a little more urgent. It just does.
Yes.
Right. So, Kits, that you join us, that you've agreed to be part of our little project, right? You've willingly come and said, yeah, I'm into this. Well, thank you. Thank you, because the nation needs people like you. Needs people with open hearts, open minds, who care, and who don't vote only for their own selfish interests, but who understands that when they vote, it also affects other people. Right? From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying, until next time, dear kids, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, words of wisdom?
I got no more today.
All right.
No more today. I'm
there you
tapped
go.
out, man.
Kids, because democracy is something you do, I know that I always say to, or lately I've been saying to write in and all that, but today, take a day off. I mean, if there's something pressing, please do write. Let your voice. But take a day off and do something nice for yourself. Every now and then, you need to step out of the game to do something for you, because you're no good to anybody else if you're completely depleted. And the world is better, and the nation is better with you in it and active, with your sleeves rolled up and getting your hands in the dirt and making stuff happen. But if you need to sit out, think of it as a relay. If you need to sit out a leg of the relay, pass the baton to someone else and we'll run with it for a while. Take care of yourself and then come back to the race, and we'll hand you the baton again when you're ready. Self-care. There's nothing more important. Always take the time for it. Make the time for it. Never apologize for taking time for self-care. All right, kids. Mr. Grizzly, please roll the credits.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Just a little happy dancing to let people go off the show with a smile.
See you tomorrow.